Chapter 59. In just a few breaths of time, 10 of the inner sect disciples had fallen. In less than 10 seconds, 20 inner sect disciples had fallen. A minute later, everyone was lying in the martial arts field, screaming in agony as dust billowed in the air. "TSK, not a single one of you can fight." Yixian stood in the middle with a disdainful look on his face. He had counted 57 people here. Just now he had fought 57 alone. However, he still won under such circumstances. There were already many people gathered outside the martial arts field, including those who had been thrown out by Yixian. After witnessing Yixian's heaven-defying strength, these people quickly retreated. No one dared to enter the martial arts field. At this moment, a figure suddenly flew over from afar, causing these people to retreat in shock. Yixian began to throw the disciples who had fallen out of the martial arts field one by one. Oh my God, he threw people more than 20 meters away with one hand. Is he still human? That's too scary. Could he be a monster in human form? Quick, go and inform the other senior brothers. The people outside the martial arts field looked at each other. At this moment, there were already dozens of people gathered outside the martial arts field. In addition to those who had yet to be thrown out of the martial arts field, there were already more than 100 people. One had to know that there were only 200 people in the entire Shattering Cloud sect. In less than 2 minutes, the entire martial arts field had been cleaned up. Other than Yixian, there was no one else. I've booked this martial arts field. If you want to enter, you'll have to go through me first. When Yixian's voice fell into everyone's ears, the same thought flashed through their minds at the same time. This kid was too damn arrogant. However, he had the right to be arrogant. Who here could fight 57 alone? Perhaps even the number 1 senior brother in the inner sect couldn't do it. Not to mention the number 1 in the inner sect, even those experts who had already become deacons of the Shattering Cloud sect couldn't do it. After all, the ranking list of the inner sect only recorded the geniuses who were 20 years old and below. In fact, before Yixian spoke, many people had already gone to invite experts from the inner sect. Therefore, Yixian's goal this time could be considered to have been partially achieved. As long as he beat up the inner sect's number 1 disciple, he would become famous. When that time came, would he still be afraid of not attracting the attention of the Shattering Cloud sect's elders? Come on, bring a few more who can fight. Yixian was also secretly looking forward to it. Although the bloodline of the wind-chasing leopard was not expensive, it was extremely cost-effective. In the world of martial arts, speed was the only thing that could not be defeated. As long as he was fast enough and strong enough, he could beat up everyone. Yixian was the only one in the martial arts training grounds. Outside the martial arts training grounds, over 100 inner sect disciples had gathered. Not long after, a few figures walked out from the crowd. It's the 7th, 8th, and 9th disciples of the inner court. This is going to be a good show. Someone recognized the 3 of them. The 6th in the inner sect was Senior Brother Lu. He was at the peak of the 7th stage of the martial path, but after that, everyone was at the middle stage of the 7th stage. In other words, these 3 people were also at the same stage. However, the 3 of them were able to stand out from the dozens of middle stage 7th stage martial path disciples. Their strength was definitely extraordinary. Kid, you're just an outer sect disciple. How dare you cause trouble in the inner sect? Are you tired of living? A long-haired young man said coldly. If you want to fight, then fight. Cut the crap. The 3 of you can come at me together. Yixian did not care. He did not think that these 3 people were any different from the people he had beaten up just now. What an arrogant kid. Junior Brother Chun, Junior Brother Lin, let's go together. The long-haired young man had heard of Yixian's strength, so he did not dare to be careless. Okay. The other 2 nodded and drew their long swords. The 3 of them rushed out together. However, they had only taken a few steps when Yixian had already swept in front of them. Then each of them threw a punch and sent them flying. Watch out! The people outside the martial arts training grounds retreated. No one dared to catch them. Plop! The 3 of them fell hard on the ground and cried out in pain. The 3 of you are too weak. Call more powerful people. Yixian said coldly. What a big mouth. I don't believe it. Junior Brother Chun, Junior Brother Lin, let's go again. The long-haired young man said and rushed out again. However, the three of them were sent flying by Yixian again. Who was the inner sect disciple? How can this person be so fast? I'm afraid he's almost catching up to the instructor. Also, his strength is too amazing. He can easily send people flying more than 20 meters. Where's senior brother Zhong? Why aren't they here yet? Didn't senior brother Zhong go out to train a long time ago? He's not back yet. The senior brother Zhong that the group of inner sect disciples were talking about was the current number 1 inner sect disciple, Zhong Yang, who was in the middle stage of 8th stage martial path. In addition, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inner sect disciples were also in the 8th stage of martial path. These were the last 2 straws in the hearts of the inner sect disciples. If even these 4 people were defeated, then the inner sect would really lose face. The dignified inner sect of the Shattering Cloud sect was defeated by an outer sect disciple. How could they cultivate here in the future? They're here. The 3 senior brothers are here. The crowd stepped aside to make a path. Then 3 more young men came. I heard that an outer sect disciple came to our inner sect to cause trouble. I thought someone spread the rumor, but I didn't expect it to be true. An extremely handsome young man said, then turned his head and asked, Junior brother, who the 3 of you were defeated to? The long-haired young man clutched his chest and nodded. Senior brother Hua, this kid is very strong. The 3 of us are no match for him. Someone on the side added, Senior brother Hua, this kid just defeated dozens of us by himself. Senior brother Hua, you have to be careful. What? When he heard these words, the handsome young man was also shocked. One person had challenged dozens of people. Even he couldn't do this, right? This guy is quite capable. Junior brothers, it seems that we have to fight together. The handsome young man said to the 2 beside him. Okay. The 2 beside him also nodded. Although they didn't believe it, there were so many people present. It was impossible for all of them to lie through their teeth, right? Moreover, there were so many people present. Most of them were injured and their clothes were dirty. It seemed that they had fought a battle. It's better to be safe than sorry, lest you get into trouble. The handsome young man led the 2 of them into the martial arts field. I'm Hui Yuan. May I ask who you are? The handsome young man cupped his fist and asked. Yi Xian. When Hui Yuan heard this name, he thought carefully in his heart for a moment, but he couldn't remember anything. So he asked again, since junior brother is so capable, why are you still an outer sect disciple? I just reported in today. Chapter 60. Seeing that Yi Xian had no intention of talking nonsense, Hui Yuan nodded slightly and said, in that case, junior brother, be careful. Pung. Just as he finished speaking, a muffled sound was heard. At the same time, Hui Yuan rushed out like a cheetah. The other 2 did the same. Rank 8 movement technique, Stormy Thunder Steps? Someone outside the arena exclaimed. A rank 7 movement technique was already very rare. Most of the disciples present had a rank 6 movement technique. Only a few had a rank 7 movement technique. As for a rank 8 movement technique, it was likely that only these 3 geniuses who had broken through to the 8th stage of the martial path knew it. The 3 people's speed was very fast, almost catching up to Yi Xian, who used rank 7 movement technique. However, Yi Xian now had more than 100 beasts bloodline in his body. Xiao. Yi Xian also used rank 7 martial arts to meet them. Now, these 3 people were all in the 8th level of the martial path. Moreover, they had the advantage in numbers, so Yi Xian had to be serious. Rushing Thunder Hand. Thousand Splitting Leg. Soul Chasing Slash. The 3 people all used their best martial arts, all of which were rank 8 martial arts. Damn, these 3 people must be the true disciples of some elder or mentor. They all know rank 8 martial arts. Yi Xian secretly said in his heart. His face was gloomy. After dodging 2 attacks, he quickly threw out a punch. Frost Fist. Zizi. Kacha. Yi Xian's fist and Hui Yuan's rushing thunder hand collided. The 2 special forces began to shake violently. This rushing thunder hand carried a trace of a paralyzing effect, and the flowing frost fist actually froze. The 2 people were unexpectedly evenly matched. Rank 8 martial arts are really powerful. It seems that I can't meet force with force. Yi Xian also broke out in a cold sweat. If he didn't have 100 Beasts bloodline, this move would have broken his hand. At the same time, Hui Yuan was also very surprised. Because in the current inner sect, only the number 1 inner sect disciple, Zhongyang, could take this move. Take this. With the advantage in numbers, the 3 of them began to attack Yi Xian. We can't be surrounded. We have to break through them one by one. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. His figure flashed as he arrived beside the sword-wielding youth. Frost Fist. The sword-wielding young man barely managed to block this punch, but in the next moment, Yi Xian's other punch arrived. Boom! Frost's fist landed on the young man's chest and sent him flying. Blood splattered everywhere. Yi Xian's physique was astonishing, and his attack speed was as fast as lightning. When his opponent slashed out with his sword, he could easily throw out 2 punches. Using this advantage, he was the first to injure one of them. Take this. Another youth who was skilled in leg techniques attacked. He kicked 3 times in an instant, but all of them were blocked by Yi Xian. Since it's a leg technique, I'll attack your lower body. Yi Xian kicked out and hit the youth's standing leg. The youth lost his balance and began to sway. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian threw out another frost fist. The second one was dealt with. In terms of attack speed, Yi Xian's legs were faster than his fists because he had the bloodline of the wind-chasing leopard. However, he had never learned a leg technique. Now, only Hui Yuan was left among the 3. Rushing Thunder Hand. Frost Fist. Boom! The 2 spiritual forces collided, and muffled sounds rang out continuously. What surprised everyone was that Yi Xian and Hui Yuan actually began to exchange blows for more than 10 seconds. The sound was so loud that it sounded like muffled thunder. Boom! 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 The 2 of them exchanged blow after blow. They were both in the mid-stage of martial path 8th realm. Hui Yuan was using an 8th grade martial arts technique, while Yi Xian was using a 7th grade martial arts technique. However, Yi Xian's physique was much stronger than Hui Yuan's. In fact, he had the upper hand in every blow, even if it was only by a small margin. However, as time passed, this slight advantage began to grow. Gotcha! Hui Yuan suddenly felt that something was wrong. He glanced around and found that his right fist was frozen. Oh no! He widened his eyes. However, in the next moment, Yi Xian's fist was already on him. Bam! Hui Yuan was sent flying more than 10 meters away. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. 3 senior brothers at the 8th level of the martial Dao were actually defeated by Yi Xian. This was too terrifying. He's so powerful. Even senior brother Hua and the other 2 are no match for him. Could this person's strength be comparable to senior brother Zhong's? It's a pity that senior brother Zhong has gone out to train. Otherwise, he would definitely come and fight with this person for 300 rounds. How fake. Senior brother Hua and the other 2 don't know this kid, right? This kid looks so young. However, his looks are not bad and he's so powerful. I wonder if he's married. Outside the martial arts field, there were endless discussions. However, what they did not know was that Yi Xian was already at the end of his rope. Just now he had used a 7th grade martial art to fight with Hui Yuan for more than 10 seconds. His spiritual power was completely depleted. If his opponent could hold on for a few more seconds, he would have lost. The 100 Beast bloodline is indeed powerful. The opponent's paralysis effect did not have any effect on me. Yi Xian wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and began to use his cultivation method to recover his spiritual power. At the same time, he glanced at the group of people at the martial arts field's entrance and secretly revealed a smile. Junior brother is indeed powerful. I admit defeat, Hui Yuan said with a fist salute. He had been beaten into submission, because when the 3 of them joined forces, even the number 1 inner disciple, Zhongyang, couldn't defeat them so quickly. However, Yi Xian did it. Moreover, he was 1 level lower than Zhongyang. Senior brother Hua, you flatter me, Yi Xian said with a fist salute. Hui Yuan walked over with a hand on his chest and continued. I don't know how junior brother's physique was trained to such a level. Could it be that junior brother has been practicing a body refining cultivation method since young? Body refining cultivation method? Yi Xian did not hear this name often, but he also understood. Body refining cultivation method required a person with a strong will to practice it. This was because during cultivation, the meridians would constantly tear and then repair, thus improving one's physique. However, among 100 martial artists, There was probably not a single martial artist who practiced body refining. Yes. I've been practicing body refining since I was young. Yixian nodded and admitted. Otherwise, he would not be able to explain it. So it's like this. Then junior brother Yi, where are you from? Could it be Nanlin City? Hui Yuan asked curiously. He could see that Yixian was a few years younger than him. Such a talented genius was definitely from a big city. The Nanlin City he mentioned was the county city of Nanlin County, which was also the city of the county king of Nanlin. Chapter 61. Hui Yuan also understood. He knew that Yixian didn't want to expose himself, so he said, Junior brother Yi, you said that you just entered the Shattering Cloud sect. Do you have a master now? Hearing this, Yixian's eyes lit up. He shook his head and said, No. In that case, why don't you become my master's disciple? My master is an elder of the Shattering Cloud sect. Hui Yuan's heart moved as he tried to rope Yixian in. Being accepted as a disciple by an elder of the Shattering Cloud sect was already considered outstanding. One had to know that every elder of the Shattering Cloud sect was at least a martial artist in the 10th stage of the martial path. When Hui Yuan's voice fell, the crowd outside the martial arts field was once again in an uproar. Following that, a figure walked in. Haha, my good disciple, I'm here. The person who came in was a middle-aged man wearing the robes of an elder of the Shattering Cloud sect. Master, I knew you were nearby. Hui Yuan hurriedly shouted. Since it's already so big, I naturally can't miss it. The middle-aged man laughed a few times and then asked, Young man, how old are you this year? 15. Yixian replied. Hearing this age, the middle-aged man and Hui Yuan were shocked. A 15-year-old martial artist in the 8th stage of the martial path was definitely a talent that could sweep through the entire Shattering Cloud sect. Haha, good. My name is Bai Lai. Are you willing to become my disciple? The middle-aged man asked straightforwardly. He also understood that Yixian came this time to make a scene in order to find a master. However, Yixian had just entered the Shattering Cloud sect and didn't know much about it. However, he saw that the middle-aged man in front of him seemed to be quite powerful, so he was a little moved. However, just as he was about to agree, a person suddenly jumped directly into the martial arts field. Young man, wait. Yixian wanted to say something but stopped. It seemed that another person had come. He turned his head and looked. Sure enough, another elder of the Shattering Cloud sect had appeared. Bai Lai, you are not being kind. You already have Hui Yuan and a few others in your sect. You still want to snatch him away? The newcomer was a bald old man with a long scar on his face. He had a fierce look that would definitely scare a little girl if he walked out. Elder Xia, there is a first come, first served rule. Before Bai Lai's voice fell, the bald old man retorted, First come, first serve my ass. He's just one person, how can he worship both of us at the same time? Young man, this guy already has a lot of disciples under him, but I don't even have a disciple in the top 10 of the inner disciples. If you become my disciple, I will definitely focus on training you. Elder Xia, Elder Bai, do you think only the two of you are here? At this time a few more people walked out. They were all elders of the Shattering Cloud sect. The sudden appearance of so many elders from the Shattering Cloud sect also made Yixian lose his composure. Sure enough, with his aptitude, he would be highly sought after wherever he went. Now, he only hoped to find a rich elder to be his master. Could it be that he had to directly state a price and ask how much he had to pay every month? Apart from Elder Bai and Elder Xia, there were 3 other elders. Then they started arguing with each other. Young man, as long as you become my disciple, I will give you 500 points every month. 500 points? Do you think I'm a beggar? I'll give you 800. You bunch of misers, I'll give you 1,000. 1,000 points was equivalent to 10 million taels of silver. This was the price that the Shui family's 9th stage martial path consecrator offered. However, Yixian was still not satisfied with this price. He was now in the 8th stage of the martial path. If he wanted to break through to the middle stage of the 8th stage, he was afraid that he would need at least 70 to 80 million taels of silver. Breaking through once every few months, Yixian could not wait that long. The disciples outside the martial arts field were already shocked to the point of prostrating themselves on the ground. 10 million taels of silver per month was a huge temptation to them. One had to know that their family would at most give 1 million taels of silver per month, and some wealthy families would give as much as 2 million taels. 10 million taels of silver was several times more than theirs. Why are there so many elders fighting for this kind of person who just swallowed pills? The disciples outside were very puzzled. However, at this time a figure suddenly jumped into the martial arts field. When the group of elders saw this person, they all stopped. Greetings, Vice Sect Leader. Several elders greeted in unison. The newcomer was a white-haired old man. The wrinkles on his face were comparable to a cliff. This person was the Vice Sect Leader of the Shattering Cloud Sect, Zhou. Ha ha ha, the main character is finally here. Yi Xian laughed in his heart. Previously, the Shui family's consecrator Lian had said that the sect leader of the Shattering Cloud Sect was not in the sect. Therefore, the Vice Sect Leader was now the most powerful person. Although the elders were not bad, surely they could not compare to the Vice Sect Leader? Young man, how old are you this year? The Vice Sect Leader walked in front of Yi Xian and asked. 15. Yi Xian answered honestly. Without waiting for his voice to fall, Zhou suddenly reached out and touched Yi Xian's body a few times. At the same time, he used his spiritual energy to circle Yi Xian's body. Sure enough, you're only 16 years old. Good seedling, good seedling. Zhou was a little excited. Young man, are you willing to be my disciple? Vice Sect Leader this. Immediately, some elders were unhappy. After all, it was a fair competition. Every month 2,000 points. At the same time, you can use any martial arts of the 9th rank and below in the Shattering Cloud Sect. Zhou directly stated the conditions. Several elders' faces darkened. When they saw Zhou appear, they secretly cursed in their hearts. After all, an elder was an elder. They could only teach their disciples martial arts of the 8th rank. However, the Vice Sect Leader was different. He had more authority and could teach martial arts of the 9th rank. Now that Yi Xian was in the 8th rank of the martial path, it would not be a problem for him to spend some time learning a 9th rank martial arts. Moreover, every month, he would receive 2,000 points, which was equivalent to 20 million taels of silver. These points could be used to exchange for weapons or various heaven and earth treasures. Without waiting for the elders to speak, Zhou said, Young man, as long as you are willing, I will do my best to train you. When you meet the requirements, you can inherit my position. What? When these words came out, everyone was shocked. Inherit the position of Vice Sect Leader? Zhou wanted to train Yi Xian as his successor? Oh my god. Haha, I'm so lucky. Yi Xian shouted in his heart. At the same time, he immediately nodded and said, I am willing. Greetings, master. Haha, good. Zhou stroked his long beard and laughed a few times. The elders' faces darkened. They did not expect that such a good seedling would be snatched away by Zhou. However, Zhou was the Vice Sect Leader. They did not dare to complain and could only accept their fate. Since Yi Xian had already become Zhou's disciple, there was no use for these elders to stay. They immediately shook their heads and left. Yi Xian, come with me. Chapter 62. At this moment, Yi Xian was still wearing the outer disciple uniform of the Shattered Cloud Sect. An outer disciple was directly accepted as a disciple by the Vice Sect Leader. This could be said to be a meteoric rise. Presumably, the entire Shattered Cloud Sect would be in turmoil. After leaving the martial arts field with Vice Sect Leader Zhou, Yi Xian was directly brought to Zhou's residence. Zhou lived in a bamboo forest. The environment was very elegant, which suited Yi Xian's taste. Then Zhou began to investigate Yi Xian's household registration. However, this did not matter. After all, Zhou could confirm that Yi Xian was indeed only 15 years old. Disciple, I have to go out for a while. This is my token. You can use this token to go to the Alchemy Hall and the Martial Arts Pavilion. Zhou directly gave Yi Xian a token and hurriedly left. 2,000 points every month, and you can learn any martial arts of the 9th grade and below. This is so awesome. Yi Xian happily shouted a few times. Immediately, he took the token and went to the Alchemy Hall. Why is it you again? Yi Xian had already been here once before and bought 30 million taels of heaven and earth treasure, so the deacon of the Alchemy Hall recognized him. Without saying anything, Yi Xian threw the token his master gave him on the table and said, Give me 10 stalks of 1,000-year-old blood ginseng. A stalk of 1,000-year-old blood ginseng was worth 2 million taels of silver. 10 stalks would be 20 million taels of silver, which was exactly 2,000 points. The deacon picked up the token and looked at it in surprise. He was so shocked that he almost swallowed his tongue. The sect leader's token? That's right. Yixian nodded. This I have to ask the elder. The deacon was almost scared to death. He hurriedly ran into the inner hall. After a while, he came out with an elder. Yixian had seen this elder before. It was Elder Xia. So it's yours. I was wondering who would come with the sect leader's token. Sai, what a pity. If this old man had arrived earlier, you would have been this old man's disciple. Elder Xia rubbed his bald head helplessly. Yixian was also shocked. He did not expect that this burly Elder Xia was actually in charge of the alchemy hall. This meant that Elder Xia knew how to refine pills. Yixian had heard of this profession before. Alchemists were all rich people. However, being a vice sect master's disciple was not bad. He had both benefits and status. Most importantly, Yixian's lie from before should not be exposed. Although the timing was a little off, was that important? Yixian took the 10,000-year-old blood ginseng and left. These things were actually charged to Zhouzong's account. Yixian returned to the bamboo forest and devoured everything in his room. Then, he left for the martial arts pavilion. He threw the sect leader's token and went to the martial arts pavilion to take a look. He brought back many copies of level 9 martial arts. The martial arts in the Shattering Cloud sect were not allowed to be spread to outsiders unless they had permission. Otherwise, they would be severely punished. Yixian was a man of integrity, so he would not spread the news. Previously, he had obtained all the martial arts through the Devouring system, so he learned them directly. However, this time he had to learn them like a normal martial artist. However, the Devouring system was very humane. When Yixian opened a copy of a level 9 martial arts, a system notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Discovered the level 8 martial arts Storm Steps. The host can learn it immediately by using 2 Devouring points. Do you want to learn it using Devouring points? What? Yixian was shocked. The Devouring system could let him learn a martial art immediately? This was good news. 2 Devouring points is not that expensive. If I learn the Storm Steps, I don't know when I will be able to master it. Let's learn it first. Yixian thought to himself and immediately chose to accept. Devouring points successfully deducted. The host has learned the level 8 martial arts Storm Steps. Yixian opened his attribute panel to take a look. Host, Yixian Realm. Early Stage 8 Martial Path Bloodline, 100 Beast Bloodline, 100 Flower Bloodline, Chasing Wind Leopard Bloodline Martial Arts. Storm Steps, Netherworld Steps, Exploding Star Arrow Level 1, Frost Fist Level 1, Chaotic Star Arrow Level 2. Devouring points, 56-inch. Haha, this is great news. Again, Yixian was overjoyed and continued to use Devouring points to learn martial arts. Devouring points successfully deducted. The host has learned the level 8 martial arts. Rushing Thunder Hand. Devouring points successfully deducted. The host has learned the level 8 martial arts 1000 Splitting Legs. Devouring points successfully deducted. The host has learned the level 8 martial arts Soul Chasing Sword Technique. Devouring points successfully deducted. The host has learned the level 8 martial arts Heaven Reversal Technique. These level 8 martial arts required 2 to 3 Devouring points to learn. Yixian learned all of them. His way of leveling up was different from ordinary martial artists. He relied on Devouring to level up, so the martial arts did not improve much. However, the better the cultivation method, the faster the speed at which one condensed spirit energy. Furthermore, the speed at which one recovered spirit energy with the cultivation method was also faster. So Yixian spent 2 points to learn an 8th rank cultivation method. At the same time, he also realized something. If he obtained martial arts in the future, he could store them in the Devouring system and learn them when he needed them. However, this would not spread. He needed to have a copy to teach others, just like what he was doing now. The benefits of being a vice sect leader's disciple are great. I don't need level 9 martial arts for the time being. Moreover, the cost is too high. I'll store them first and think about it later. Yixian thought to himself. However, he still spent 10 devouring points to learn a level 9 martial arts called Sky Illusion Body Technique. Now, his strength had improved a lot. One should know that he used level 7 martial arts before, but now he was proficient in several level 8 martial arts and a level 9 martial arts. He estimated that he could send Hui Yuan flying in an instant. It would not be a problem even if he faced a peak level 8 martial artist. Now that I don't need to cultivate, what should I do next? Yi Xian was a little bored. So he left the bamboo forest and prepared to stroll around the inner sect. However, when he arrived at the entrance of the bamboo forest, he saw 3 figures. He had seen all 3 of them before. Hey, it's you too. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. These 3 people were Senior Martial Brother Liu, Senior Martial Brother Ning, and the misophobic Senior Martial Sister Guan. It's you. Why are you here? Senior Brother Ning exclaimed. Senior Brother Liu was the same. As for Senior Sister Guan, she was so shocked that she could not speak. At this time, Yi Xian had already washed his hair and changed his clothes and shoes, but they could still recognize him. Chapter 63. What are you doing here? What? An inner disciple? Senior Brother Ning exclaimed. When Yi Xian first arrived at the Shattering Cloud sect, he wasn't even an outer disciple. However, in just a few hours, Yi Xian had become an inner disciple. How is this possible? That's right. I'm an inner disciple now. Yi Xian nodded. However, before he could finish his sentence, Senior Brother Liu pulled out his sword and said, You must have stolen another disciple's clothes. Now you're trying to steal from the Vice Sect Master's residence. We just happened to bump into you. Thief die. Senior Brother Ning did the same. The 2 of them rushed toward Yi Xian again. TCH, 2 losers. I could easily kick you down the stairs before. It's the same now. Yi Xian also admired the courage of these 2 people. He immediately stepped on the explosive thunder steps that he had just learned and taught the 2 of them a heavy lesson. The 2 of them were sent flying by Yi Xian's ordinary fists and rolled a few times on the ground. Storm steps. Senior Sister Guan was shocked. This was a martial art that even she didn't know. Among the inner disciples, perhaps only the top 4 disciples knew this martial art. However, Yi Xian actually knew it. Where did he learn it? This was the violent thunder steps. Every step would produce a unique sound, so it was impossible for her to recognize it wrongly. Senior brothers, you should restrain yourself. Don't ask for trouble, Yi Xian said slowly. He was sincerely warning them. Ask for trouble? Senior Brother Liu was stunned. He was the 6th disciple of the inner sect. How could he bear to hear such words? Kid, you're courting death. Soul chasing slash. Senior Brother Liu was furious. He actually used the 8th grade martial art soul chasing sword technique. Seeing this, Yi Xian kicked with his right foot and grabbed a branch. He snorted, Soul chasing sword technique, I know it too. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 black slashes collided. In an instant, Senior Brother Liu's soul chasing slash was scattered. What? Senior Brother Liu was shocked. By the time he reacted, his body had already been struck by the soul-chasing slash, and he was sent flying more than 30 meters away. And this was because Yi Xian had shown mercy. Otherwise, he would have been cut in half. Chasing soul slash. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning cried out from the side. This was the same as Violent Thunderstep, a rank 8 martial art. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, do you want to give it a try? Yi Xian suddenly turned his head and used the branch in his hand to draw a sword flower. What kind of joke was this? Senior Apprentice Brother Ning swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was 1 level lower than Senior Apprentice Brother Liu, and he didn't know how to use the soul-chasing slash. If he was struck by Yi Xian, he would definitely be cut in half. Who are you? Senior Brother Ning asked in surprise. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning is truly a person of high status with short memories. Junior Apprentice Brother Yi Xian has just acknowledged the Vice Sect Master as his master. I hope that Senior Apprentice Brother and Senior Apprentice Sister can give me some pointers. Yi Xian threw away the branch in his hand and cupped his fists. Vice Sect Master? Senior Apprentice Sister Guan's eyes widened when she heard this. No wonder Yi Xian came out of the bamboo forest. So this was the reason. Impossible. You're just a paper tiger who used pills to climb up. Why would the Vice Sect Master take a fancy to you? Senior apprentice brother Lu endured the pain as he crawled up and said in disbelief. Senior apprentice brother Lu, are you mocking yourself? You can't even beat me. What right do you have to say this? Yixian retorted. This sentence shut them up. Yixian glanced at them and said, Senior apprentice brother and senior apprentice sister, may I ask why you've come to the bamboo forest? You liar. You don't even know that junior apprentice sister Guan lives here. And you still say that you're the vice sect master's disciple? Senior apprentice brother Ning suddenly stood up and said, Oh, Yixian was a little surprised. Senior apprentice sister Guan, who was obsessed with cleanliness, actually lived here? What kind of situation was this? Senior apprentice brother Ning, whether you believe it or not is none of my business. In any case, I believe it. But you guys, don't you think it's a little inappropriate to attack your junior apprentice brother for no reason? Yixian's gaze fell on senior apprentice brother Ning, causing him to tremble slightly. He was the one who had started this conflict. If he had been too lazy to pay attention to Yixian back at the mountain gate, this wouldn't have happened. Fine. You say that you're the vice sect master's disciple. What proof do you have? Senior apprentice brother Ning questioned. Does this count as proof? As Yixian's voice rang out, a token flew towards senior apprentice brother Ning. Senior apprentice brother Ning caught the token and was almost scared to death. It was actually the sect master's token. There were only 2 sect master's tokens. One was in the hands of the sect master of the Shattering Cloud sect, and the other was with the vice sect master, Zhou Tsang. You dare to steal the sect master's token? Senior apprentice brother Ning still couldn't believe it. A country bumpkin who had just arrived at the Shattering Cloud sect was actually accepted as a disciple by the vice sect master? How was this possible? Before Yixian could reply, an unfamiliar voice rang out. Enough. It was a girl's voice. Needless to say, it was senior apprentice sister Guan. Junior apprentice sister Guan? Senior apprentice brother Ning also turned his head, but before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by senior apprentice sister Guan. Senior apprentice brothers, please go back. After she finished speaking, she directly walked into the bamboo forest. It seemed that she was indeed living in the bamboo forest. Yixian recalled that there were a few small wooden houses in the forest, and one of them seemed to be occupied. Senior apprentice brother Ning, if you still don't believe me, you can ask the others. Although this junior apprentice brother has just arrived at the Shattering Cloud sect, he has already familiarized himself with the people there. If you don't want to go back, please return the token to me. Yixian stretched out his hand, indicating for senior apprentice brother Ning to return the token to him. Humph. Senior apprentice brother Ning tossed the sect master's token over, then left with senior apprentice brother Lu. He still didn't believe Yixian's identity, so he had to find someone to verify it. TSK, you don't have any eyesight at all. Do you think something like the sect master's token can be stolen so easily? Yixian muttered with a look of disdain, then left. He estimated that he would be living in the Shattering Cloud sect for a period of time, so he had to adapt to the environment. Right now, almost everyone in the inner sect recognized him, but it was useless. They didn't have to pay to see him. He strolled around the inner sect and found a fun place. This was a place called the Wooden Dummy Array. As long as one could stay inside for 5 minutes under a certain difficulty level, they would be rewarded with points. The first level gave 1 point, the second level gave 5 points, the third level gave 50 points, the fourth level gave 500 points, and so on. Right now, Yixian was lacking points, so he could give it a try. Hey, isn't that Yixian? Someone recognized Yixian before he even entered. Yixian smiled at the person beside him, then walked in. Chapter 64. I heard that senior brother Zhongyang reached the 5th stage half a year ago, but he didn't make it. Yixian's physique is extraordinary. I wonder how many stages he can reach. At least the 4th stage. Moreover, the wooden puppet array mainly depends on one's physique. Yixian should be able to pass the 4th stage easily. He's just a brute. I don't think he can even pass the 4th stage. The people in the surroundings all gathered around. At this time, Yixian had finished his registration and walked into the wooden puppet array. The wooden puppet was actually made of a special kind of wood. It was controlled by an array master and moved according to a certain pattern. The wooden puppet had no legs and moved by turning. However, the wooden puppets were of different sizes. When they moved together, they would not touch the other wooden puppets. It was very magical. Yixian walked into the wooden puppet array. Immediately, the wooden puppets began to turn. They were not fast, and even a 6th realm martial path martial artist could handle them. The first stage of the wooden puppet array was the slowest. As long as one stayed for 5 minutes, they would pass. The wooden puppets in the first few stages were not fast, and the power of the 2 wooden arms was not strong. Yixian passed it easily. Soon it was the 4th stage. Whoosh whoosh. As time passed, a gust of wind blew in the wooden puppet array. This was caused by the wooden puppets moving at high speed. They are quite fast. This power is probably not inferior to a 7th realm martial path martial artist, using a 7th realm martial art. Yixian's expression also became serious. He was still able to handle this stage. All he needed to do was occasionally use the netherworld steps. One could not attack the wooden puppets in the wooden puppet array. Otherwise, one would be disqualified. Soon a minute had passed. Then 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Yixian is so powerful. I remember that when senior brother Zhongyang passed the 4th stage, it was very difficult, but he passed it so easily. The inner disciples who were watching from the stands looked at each other in dismay. While they were discussing, Yixian passed the 4th stage. Junior brother, do you want to proceed to the 5th stage? The 5th stage of the wood puppet array wasn't something an ordinary person could withstand. Even a martial artist in the 8th stage of the martial path would be seriously injured if they were hit by the wood puppet. Those who passed the 5th stage of the wooden puppet array were usually instructors of the Shattering Cloud sect, who were also martial artists in the 9th stage of the martial path. Senior brother, come on! Yixian shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, the madman in the wooden golem array blew even more violently. Huff huff. These hundreds of wooden dummies began to spin crazily. Their speed was no slower than an electric fan. Yixian's expression was extremely solemn as he waved those sturdy wooden arms frantically. Now he had no choice but to use the grade 8 movement technique, violent thunder steps. Pa! 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 Yixian's figure moved quickly among the wooden dummies, making muffled sounds. Oh my god, what did I just see? Raging thunder steps, that is the 8th grade movement technique, raging thunder steps. How did he know it? Impossible, he just entered the Shattering Cloud sect today. How could he learn the raging thunder steps in a day? I remember that Hui Yuan and a few other senior brothers also spent more than a month to reach the small success stage. Impossible, he must have learned it long ago. But I heard that he came from a small town. How could a small town have a grade 8 martial art? The crowd outside was already boiling with excitement. A minute passed, and Yixian was still dodging with ease. 2 minutes passed. This time Yixian was finally sweating. However, at the 3rd minute, Yixian was finally hit by the wooden dummy for the first time. Pung! Under the high-speed rotation of the wooden dummy, Yixian had just endured the first attack when 2 more arms hit him. Pung! Pung! 3 attacks that were equivalent to that of a martial artist in the 8th stage of the martial path made Yixian's qi and blood churn. He had no choice but to use a movement technique that he had just learned. Heavenly Illusion Movement Technique. A grade 9 movement technique was very taxing for him, who was in the 8th stage of the martial path. However, it was not a problem to hold on until the wooden dummy array ended. Looking at Yixian, who was dragging his afterimage in the wooden dummy array, the crowd boiled again. Oh my god, what did I just see? Isn't that the grade 9 martial art Heaven Illusion Movement Technique? Afterimage, dragging the afterimage out 3 meters. This is the Heaven Illusion Movement Technique's great success stage. Who is he? How can he even know the Heaven Illusion Movement Technique that was created by the Vice Sect leader? Is this really his first day in the Shattering Cloud sect? Could he be the Vice Sect leader's illegitimate son? Should be careful. If this spreads, you're done for. Yixian had completely shocked the group of inner sect disciples. Not only did he learn the Raging Thunder Steps in a day, he even learned the grade 9 martial art, Heaven Illusion Movement Technique. He was simply a super genius. At this time, on the other side of the stands, there were a few figures. Too scary, too scary. If I knew that this kid had such a high aptitude, I would definitely fight with the Vice Sect leader for it. Tisk, if I knew, I would have bet everything on this kid. This kid's aptitude may even surpass the sect leader's. That's right, this kid will be a true spirit realm expert in the future. A true spirit realm seed with great potential. Even if I don't want those disciples, I'll accept it. The one who spoke was the first elder to appear by Lai. They watched in silence. 5 minutes passed quickly. Yixian successfully passed the 5th stage. Junior brother, do you still want to pass the 6th stage? The Shattering Cloud sect deacon who controlled the wooden dummy array asked timidly. No, senior brother, open the door and let me out. Yixian, who was sweating profusely, shook his head. He still had a lingering fear in his heart. If it weren't for the sky illusion body technique, he probably wouldn't have been able to pass the 5th stage's wooden dummy array, even if he had the 100 Beasts bloodline and the wind-chasing leopard bloodline. Junior brother, you passed the 5th stage and obtained a total of 5,556 points. This is the points medallion. The deacon of the Shattering Cloud sect took out some points medallions and handed them to Yixian. The Shattering Cloud sect implemented a point system, but there was no real name system. The points could be used by others. Thank you, senior brother. Yixian wiped off his cold sweat. It seemed that those 3 hits weren't in vain. Fortunately, he had the 100 Beasts bloodline and had an amazing physique. Otherwise, those 3 hits would have definitely injured him severely. After that, Yixian quickly left. Now that he had obtained more than 5,000 points, he could exchange them for things to improve himself. So scary. He was hit 3 times by the wooden dummies in the 5th stage, but he could still walk out alive and well. Is this person's body made of iron? What iron? Even an Iron Man would be beaten into a metal pancake in the 5th stage. Chapter 65. After leaving the wooden puppet array, Yixian went to the alchemy hall and exchanged for 27,000-year-old blood ginsengs. My physique is strong. Exchanging for blood ginsengs should not arouse other people's imagination. Yixian took the 27 blood ginsengs back to his room and swallowed them. When he broke through to the early stage of the 8th realm, he swallowed 30 million and 20 million taels worth of items. Now that he had more than 50 million taels, he should be able to break through. However, these items that were worth 1 million taels of gold were not enough for him to break through. Damn, are you kidding me? 1 million taels of gold is not enough for me to break through to the next level? My God, how hard is it to break through to the next level? Yixian was helpless. He felt that he was on the verge of breaking through, but he estimated that he was just a little bit away from breaking through to the next level. Forget it, I'll go see where I can earn points tomorrow. At most, I'll just go down the mountain and kill some demonic beasts. Yixian shook his head. At this time, the sky was gradually darkening. He found a recliner and lay down outside his wooden house with his arms bared. After coming to this world, he had not seen the night sky properly. The night breeze blew on Yixian's body, making him feel a little drowsy. Huff huff. Just as Yixian was about to fall asleep, he suddenly heard the sound of the wind and opened his eyes wide. Papa! Stormy thundersteps. Yixian instantly flashed a few meters away. When he reacted, he found that his recliner had been cut in half. Not far away, a figure slowly walked over. With the help of the moonlight, Yixian saw the person clearly. It was actually Senior Sister Guan. Just as Yixian was about to ask why Senior Sister Guan sneaked an attack on him, Senior Sister Guan said, "Put on your clothes properly." At this time, Yixian finally realized that he was half naked. Immediately, he picked up his clothes and put them on. Then he said somewhat angrily, "Senior Guan, I respect you as a senior sister, so I called you that. But you sneak attacked your junior brother without saying anything. Isn't that a little inappropriate?" Humph. Senior apprentice Sister Guan didn't reply and went straight back to her little wooden hut. Yixian was also helpless. What was wrong with Senior Sister Guan? He simply couldn't tolerate a single grain of sand. This Senior Martial Sister Guan seems to be a clean freak, but there are so many leaves and insects in the bamboo forest. Can't she live just fine? Moreover, they want people to dress up neatly. It's obvious that they have mental illness. Yixian thought to himself as he shook his head helplessly. Up until now, he didn't even know Senior Sister Guan's name. He only knew that her surname was Guan. He was thinking that he had to find out more about this tomorrow so that he wouldn't be accidentally killed by Senior Martial Sister Guan in the future. This was Yixian's first night in the Shattered Cloud sect. However, on this day Yixian had shaken the Shattered Cloud sect. When the next day arrived, Yixian woke up early. He had always been thinking about his cultivation level. As long as he worked a little harder, he would be able to break through to the mid-8th stage of the martial path. Although he didn't have many points left, he still went to the alchemy hall and used 5 points to ask the deacon of the alchemy hall to reveal some information. After the deacon's explanation, Yixian found out that senior martial sister Guan was called Guan Yulan and was adopted by the sect master of the Shattered Cloud sect. Guan Yulan was originally the child of an ordinary farmer. However, when she was 7 years old, her entire family was killed by a hooligan. After that, the hooligan even wanted to rape her. Fortunately, the sect master of the Shattered Cloud sect happened to pass by and saved her. He then brought her back to the Shattered Cloud sect. That incident left a deep shadow in her heart. Therefore, she wasn't a clean freak. She just hated those who had the temperament of a hooligan. A few years ago, when the sect master of the Shattered Cloud sect went out, he entrusted Guan Yulan to the vice sect master Zhou. Therefore, Guan Yulan lived in the bamboo forest. After listening to the story, Yixian finally understood. However, he felt very wrong because he wasn't a hooligan. He just wanted to go to the Shattered Cloud sect as soon as possible. Junior martial brother, don't tell anyone that I told you this. Not many people know about this. The deacon of the alchemy hall called Wang Tao whispered. Senior martial brother, do I look like a talkative person? Don't worry. Yixian smiled and asked, by the way, senior martial brother, do you know how to get points? Points? Apart from the wooden dummy area, you have to go to the training hall to accept some training missions. Wang Tao said, training missions? I understand. Thank you, senior martial brother. Yixian said and directly left the alchemy hall. Wang Tao was also smiling from ear to ear. After chatting for a while, he actually got 5 points. That was 50,000 taels of silver. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. This Yixian was so generous. He was worthy of being a dragon among men. In the future, he would definitely achieve great things. After leaving the alchemy hall, Yixian also walked towards the training hall. He was still 10 to 20 million taels away from breaking through. His master had also disappeared after accepting him, so he could only do it himself. He arrived at the training hall. As soon as he entered, he became the center of attention. He ignored the gazes of the people around him and began to look for missions. The missions of the Shattering Cloud sect were also graded. A rank 4 mission required a martial artist of the 4th stage of the martial path. Of course, the number of martial artists was not fixed. Yixian was now in the 8th stage of the martial path. Logically speaking, he should be able to accept a rank 8 mission. Unfortunately, there were no rank 8 missions in the Shattering Cloud sect. In desperation, he could only accept a rank 7 mission. Eliminate the Blackwater Mountain stronghold and bring back the head of the Mountain King, Chao Hu. Chao Hu's strength is at the peak of the 7th stage of the martial path. Rank 7 mission reward is 600 points. 600 points is equivalent to 6 million taels of silver. However, this is a mountain bandit den. There must be a lot of good things inside. It should be able to help me break through. I'll accept it. Yixian made his decision and directly accepted the mission. Blackwater Mountain was some distance away from the Shattering Cloud sect. However, there was another reason why Yixian accepted it. Blackwater Mountain was only a few days' journey from Lianyun City. After completing the mission, he could return to Lianyun City to take a look. However, just as he was about to leave the training hall, 3 people suddenly walked in. Coincidentally, these 3 people were Senior Brother Lu, Senior Brother Ning, and Guan Yulan. You again? Senior Brother Ning's eyes widened. Oh, so it's Senior Brother. I wonder if Senior Brother still thinks that I'm an imposter? Yixian asked with a faint smile. Yesterday, when Senior Brother Ning and Senior Brother Lu returned, they asked many people. As it turned out, when they went down the mountain with Guan Yulan to buy things, Yixian caused a ruckus in the inner sect of the Shattering Cloud sect. Then, he was accepted as a disciple by the vice sect master. Chapter 66. Senior Martial Brother, you're also here to take the experiential mission, right? Please. Yixian smiled and stepped aside. At the same time, he glanced at Guan Yulan from the corner of his eyes. Humph. Senior Marshal Brother Ning ignored Yixian and walked straight ahead. However, just as Yixian was about to leave the experiential hall, a cry of surprise came from inside. Why, you took the Black Water Mountains mission? Senior Marshal Brother Ning chased after him. Yixian was startled, then laughed mischievously. That's right. Could it be that Senior Marshal Brother Ning also wanted to take it? I'm sorry, but I didn't know. If I didn't give it up, I would have definitely given it to Senior Marshal Brother Ning. Give it up? Senior Marshal Brother Ning said hot-headed. Senior Marshal Brother, I remember that there's a rule in the Shattering Cloud sect. When accepting a mission, there's a first-come first-served basis. Since this mission was accepted by me, it's mine. Senior Marshal Brother, you can only accept other missions. Yixian shrugged. That's a bandit nest. Can you complete it alone? Senior Marshal Brother Lu walked over. Then I won't trouble Senior Marshal Brother. If Senior Marshal Brother and Senior Marshal Sister are interested, Junior Marshal Brother can consider letting you join. However, the rewards will be split 70-30. How about it? Yixian suddenly revealed a crafty expression. 70 for us, 30 for you? Senior Marshal Brother Ning blurted out. However, in the next moment he almost spat out blood in anger. No, I'll take 70, you guys take 30. Yixian shook his head. Don't go too far. Although you're strong, you're only one person. That bandit nest has at least several hundred people. Can you handle them all? Senior Marshal Brother Lu scolded. That's none of your business, Senior Marshal Brother. In any case, I've already given my points as a guarantee. If Senior Marshal Brother doesn't have anything else to say, then Junior Marshal Brother will take his leave. Yixian cupped his fists at the three of them, then turned and left. He was just saying it casually. He could destroy that bandit nest by himself. Why would he need 3 more burdens? However, he had only taken a few steps when Senior Marshal Brother Lu shouted, 50-50 will join. Yixian paused and thought to himself, you really have the guts to ask for it. 50-50? I can take care of the 3 of you single-handedly, and you still want to talk about 50-50? But at this time a strange thought suddenly flashed through his mind. There were still plenty of 7th-ranked missions in the Hall of Experience. Why did the 3 of them have to accept this mission to eradicate a bandit lair? Could it be that they were eyeing the huge profits in the bandit's lair? That's not right. Senior Apprentice Brother Lu looks a little too nervous. Just a mission. Could it be that there's another reason? Yixian frowned. He now knew that this Senior Apprentice Brother Lu was called Lu Buping, the grandson of the Shattering Cloud sect's Elder Lu. That Senior Apprentice Brother Ning was called Ning Chuan, the son of a Shattering Cloud sect's instructor. They might have some unspeakable secrets. Oh, are you sure you want to join Senior Marshal Brother Lu? Yixian asked curiously. That's right. Lu Buping nodded. Yixian secretly glanced at Ning Chuan and Guan Yulan, and asked again, 50-50? I'll take 50%? Yes. Lu Buping nodded again, but he was thinking in his heart, F***ck, you're just a little stronger. What are you pretending for? If you fall into my hands, I'll definitely kill you. Oh, that's fine. Junior Apprentice Brother Lu, I also feel that I'm not enough. I welcome Senior Apprentice Brother Lu to join. Yixian immediately changed his expression. The speed of his change shocked Lu Buping and the others. Yixian alone took 50%, and the 3 of them together only took 50%. It would be strange if they didn't have ulterior motives. However, just as Yixian thought, Lu Buping and the others did indeed have other things to do at Blackwater Mountain. Now that Yixian had accepted the mission of Blackwater Mountain's bandit lair, they could only thicken their faces and join. Otherwise, if they followed Yixian and were accidentally discovered by Yixian, it would be hard for them to explain. And now the 3 of them joined Yixian. After the mission was completed, Yixian would return to the Shattering Cloud sect alone. TSK, do you really think I'm a fool? I beat you so badly and you still want to join my team. Even a fool can guess my ulterior motives. Yixian thought in his heart. However, he didn't know why Lu Buping and the others were going to Blackwater Mountain. At that moment, Yixian followed Lu Buping and the others and left the Shattering Cloud sect. Along the way, Yixian also found something strange. That was, the relationship between Guan Yulan, Lu Buping, and Ning Chuan was not very good. There was some distance between the horses of the 2 parties. Of course, Yi Xian and the other two parties were the same. Senior apprentice brother Liu, what should we do? Ning Chuan took advantage of the break and asked softly. Let's eliminate the Blackwater Mountain bandit lair first. Then on the way back we'll find an excuse to leave. Lu Buping replied. But, can we really do it with just the three of us? No problem. Grandfather gave me a bottle of special poison. That thing is weak after giving birth. With this bottle of special poison, the three of us can deal with it. Lu Buping and Ning Chuan were whispering to each other. Yi Xian also wanted to listen, but unfortunately, he didn't have a good ear. That Guan Yulan doesn't seem to have a very good relationship with the two of them. She should have been called over to help. TSK, just what is it that can make these three talented students of the Shattering Cloud sect form a team? Yi Xian was also a little curious. For the rest of the journey they traveled very quickly. In less than 3 days, they had already arrived at the foot of Blackwater Mountain. Junior apprentice brother, this group of Blackwater Mountain bandits have done all kinds of evil. They have brought a lot of trouble to the surrounding cities. So, when we go up the mountain you can't show mercy. When they were about to go up the mountain to eliminate the Blackwater Mountain stronghold, Lu Buping also said, Senior apprentice brother, please don't worry. I won't show mercy. Yi Xian said slowly. At the same time there was a sentence in his heart that he didn't say out loud. That was, I will beat you harder than when I beat you. Very good. Then, let's go up the mountain and eliminate this bandit nest. Lu Buping nodded and then pulled out his long sword. The few of them were the elites of the Shattering Cloud sect. Dealing with a bandit nest was not a problem. When they arrived at the mountainside, they encountered a few bare-chested bandits. Xiao. Without waiting for Lu Buping to open his mouth, there was a beautiful white figure that swept out, instantly beheading these few mountain bandits under the sword. Junior apprentice sister Guan is indeed powerful. Lu Buping praised. Although Guan Yulan was a woman, her strength was still above Lu Buping. She was ranked 5th in the inner sect. Now that he knew that Guan Yulan encountered Yi Xian, he was relatively calm. Bandits were a more despicable profession than hooligans. The 4 of them moved very quickly. The bandits on the road were all killed by Guan Yulan. Her actions were very swift. Yi Xian, who was walking at the back, was also doing some petty things. That was to devour the things on the bandits such as weapons and elixirs. Chapter 67. Senior brother Lu, this kid is very strong. Why don't we? Ning Chuan, who was walking in front, asked softly. No need. The 3 of us can deal with that thing. Why should we add one more person? Lu Buping shook his head slightly. Ning Chuan was still a little worried. But that's a spirit beast. Moreover, this kid's strength is comparable to senior brother Zhong's. With him at the front we'll be safe. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Lu Buping shook his head again. He then turned around and asked, Junior brother, what are you doing behind us? Oh, I'll be right there. Yi Xian was so scared that he quickly shouted. He immediately stopped the devouring. If they found out about the devouring ability, they would definitely mistake it for a Qiankuan ring. At that time it might cause some unnecessary trouble. However, after seeing Lu Buping's attitude, Yi Xian was even more convinced that the 3 of them must have some kind of plan. I've already beaten them to such a state, yet they still followed me with a thick face. It's too fake. TSK. Don't tell me this Blackwater Mountain has some kind of treasure? Yi Xian fantasized in his heart. If he could find an ancient site he would be rich. There were quite a number of Blackwater Mountain bandits. Along the way they had already killed dozens of them. Most of them were killed by Guan Yulan. As for Yi Xian, he was walking at the back. From time to time, he would complain that these bandits were all poor bastards. Outsiders are coming up the mountain. When the 4 of them were halfway up the mountain, a shout suddenly came from the forest. Then, dozens of people suddenly appeared. Finally, some strong people came. Yi Xian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The bandits that Guan Yulan and the other 2 had killed were all weaklings. They were not even at the 6th rank of the martial path. But now, there were quite a number of people who were at the 6th rank of the martial path. There were even some who were at the 7th rank. Who are you? The leader was a bald man. He was carrying a bloodied broadsword. However, before he could finish his words, Guan Yulan rushed over and killed him in an instant. He did not even have time to react. This bitch killed the third master. Kill her. The crowd suddenly became excited. They held their weapons and rushed towards Guan Yulan. Junior brother, let's go. Lu Buping gave a low shout and also charged up together with Ning Chuan. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly took out the cloud splitter bow from his devouring space and fired. Chaotic star arrow. Swish! Swish! Dozens of arrows shot out, and in the blink of an eye, a large group of bandits fell. What? Lu Buping and the other two were also shocked. Who had launched this attack? When they turned around, they saw Yi Xian walking towards them with his bow in hand. Swish! An arrow brushed past Lu Buping's shoulder, piercing through the head of a mountain bandit. Senior apprentice brother Lu, you can't be distracted in battle. Otherwise you'll die a horrible death, Yi Xian said with a half-smile. Cold sweat appeared on Lu Buping's forehead. As he killed the enemy, he asked, "Where did you get this bow?" "I picked it up on the road," Yi Xian replied slowly. Fortunately, the cloud splitter bow looked very ordinary. It looked like a low-grade mortal weapon, so Lu Buping didn't pay much attention to it. What he was surprised about was that Yi Xian, in addition to his shocking strength, was also proficient in archery. One shot of the chaotic star arrow could kill at least 4 enemies. Sometimes it could even kill 5 or 6. After a few rounds, the dozens of bandits were almost all dead. Guan Yulan and the other two were also shocked. They originally thought that Yi Xian didn't use weapons, but they didn't expect him to be proficient in archery. No wonder he dared to accept the mission of MT Blackwater alone. Junior apprentice brother is very strong. Lu Buping revealed a fake smile, but he was hesitating in his heart. In this mission, if they had Yi Xian's help, then their safety would increase by a lot. However, with one more person, it meant that they would have less points than before. Most importantly, Yi Xian had beaten them up before. Thank you for your praise, senior apprentice brother. Yi Xian smiled slightly and slowly followed. There were quite a few bandits in MT Blackwater. When Yi Xian and the other 3 arrived at the peak, they had already killed hundreds of bandits. However, there were still 200 to 300 bandits waiting for them at the peak. When they were killing the bandits, the news had already spread to the peak. At this time, MT Blackwater's first master and second master, 2 martial artists at the peak of the 7th stage of the martial path, had already walked out under the protection of a group of experts. The 4 of you should be disciples of the Shattering Cloud sect. My MT Blackwater and your Shattering Cloud sect have never interfered with each other, and we have never entered your territory. Why are you looking for trouble with my MT Blackwater? The one who spoke was a bald man. He was MT Blackwater's first master, Chao Hu. Chao Hu, you have done all kinds of evil. Today, we are here to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Lu Buping walked out. Such big words. Since it is so, then we have nothing to say. Go, whoever kills him will be rewarded with a mid-grade mortal weapon. Chao Hu directly ordered. Kill. As soon as he finished speaking, a large group of bandits rushed up. These bandits were all martial artists from the 4th stage to the 6th stage of the martial path. Only a few of them were at the 7th stage of the martial path. Although their strength was not strong, they had the advantage in numbers. With so many people attacking, even a martial artist at the 8th stage of the martial path would have to retreat. Not good retreat. Lu Buping hurriedly shouted and led Guan Yulan and the other 2 to retreat. However, at this time, a figure burst out, nimbly dodging those attacks and directly killing into the crowd. Yi Xian! Die! Yi Xian roared. He picked up a long sword and began to cut through the thorns and hemp, killing whoever he saw. Although the sword in his hand was only a low-grade mortal weapon, he was at the 8th stage of the martial path. The strength of his spiritual energy was extremely strong. With a casual slash, he could cut a person in half. The 100 Beasts bloodline, Windchaser bloodline, and the 7th stage martial art, the Netherworld steps, made his speed unmatched. No one could catch sight of his figure. Soul-chasing slash, die for me. Suddenly, Yi Xian raised the long sword in his hand and slashed out a huge slash. This was one of the moves of the 8th stage soul-chasing swordsmanship, the soul-chasing slash. Moreover, Yi Xian also condensed a large amount of spiritual energy. Ah, everyone be careful. Quickly dodge. Screams and cries of agony rang out continuously. This soul-chasing slash was like a sharp knife that split the crowd into two. The huge slash broke through the air and swept out more than 10 meters, killing 20 to 30 bandits. At this time, no one dared to approach Yixian. They all watched from the periphery. Lu Buping and the other two also watched in horror. Chapter 68. Then should we go in or not? Ning Chuan asked somewhat timidly. Go in for what? Let him attract the attention. Our strength is not enough. If we go in, I'm afraid we will be injured by so many attacks and even die inside, Lu Buping said as he also sent out slashes, killing those mountain bandits in the periphery. Although they were only 4 people and there were hundreds of mountain bandits, there were not many who could really get close to them. Under the situation where the difference in realms was too great, the human wave tactic was also useless. And while these mountain bandits were in shock, Yixian suddenly slashed out a few soul-chasing slashes. This time it was a horizontal slash. These slashes were so fast that the mountain bandits did not even have time to react before they were cut in half at the waist. Seeing a large number of his brothers die tragically in an instant, Chao Hu's face was also extremely gloomy. 3 slashes actually killed close to 100 mountain bandits. If it happened a few more times, wouldn't they all die? Second brother, follow me to kill him. Chao Hu picked up the 2 round hammers beside him and walked out. Yes, big brother. Blackwater Mountain's second head could not sit still long ago, carrying a large axe and following out. Is the main character finally coming? Yixian glanced from the corner of his eyes, watching the 2 people slowly walk out. Chao Hu held the dual hammers in his hands and said coldly, Brat, your purpose for coming to my Blackwater Mountain this time should not be so simple, right? I'm guessing that you guys should be here for that spirit beast. Not good. Just as Chao Hu's voice fell, the expression of Lu Buping outside changed. However, there were so many mountain bandits surrounding at this time. He could not enter at all, let alone kill this Chao Hu. Yixian, who was inside, also revealed a happy expression when he heard Chao Hu's words. It seemed that the leader of the Blackwater tribe knew something. First head, what are you saying? Why can't I understand? Yixian pretended to ask, but his heart was already exploding. F***CK spirit beast? Stop pretending. I know that you guys came for that Blackwater flood dragon. Chao Hu snorted coldly. Blackwater dragon. After hearing this name, Yixian trembled slightly. Chao Hu had just said that there was a spirit beast in MT Blackwater. It seemed to be this Blackwater dragon. First Master, are you sure you're not wrong? You have a Blackwater flood dragon in this Blackwater Mountain? Yixian asked in disbelief. Kid, you don't have to pretend anymore. However, even if the Blackwater dragon is in its weakened state, it's still not something you guys can handle. If you know what's good for you, then leave. I won't hold it against you for killing so many of my brothers, Chao Hu said slowly. He had known about this for a long time, and it was his subordinate who had accidentally spread the news. Blackwater Mountain was only a small force. Facing a colossus like the Shattering Cloud sect, they wouldn't have any ability to resist. Therefore, Chao Hu wanted to send Yixian and the others away before moving the entire stronghold to another place. Haha, First Master, you must be joking. I killed hundreds of your brothers. Will you let us go? Yixian suddenly laughed out loud. Since that's the case, then you can go to hell. Chao Hu didn't say anything else and directly swung his hammer. The hammer was a powerful weapon. Chao Hu was a martial artist at the peak of the 7th stage of the martial path. If his hammer hit a martial artist at the 7th stage of the martial path, it would definitely be able to kill him instantly. However, his opponent was Yixian. Whoosh whoosh. The sledgehammer landed on Yixian's body. Before Chao Hu could show a surprised expression, Yixian's entire body floated away. An afterimage. What? Chao Hu was shocked. Even with his eyesight, he couldn't see where Yixian went. Whoosh. Suddenly there was a sound in front of them. It turned out that Yixian was retreating. Rip. Chao Hu's head flew up, and his huge body fell backward onto the floor. Dead. Instant kill. The entire crowd was silent. The first master that they were most proud of was actually killed by a brat. I'm going to kill you. The second master also reacted in an instant. After glancing at the first master's corpse, he swung his axe at Yixian. Rip. Another crisp sound was heard. The axe fell from his hand and landed on the ground. The second master's head also flew up and blood splattered everywhere. Now that the 3 leaders of the Blackwater Mountain Range were dead, the entire Blackwater Mountain Range was like a pack of dragons without a leader. The bandits with quick reflexes immediately turned tail and ran. What a joke. Even the leader was dead. What was the point of these underlings staying here? Waiting for death? You want to leave? You evil bandits, go to hell. Yixian's aura suddenly surged and he instantly slashed out a few soul-chasing slashes. The death toll instantly soared. The mountain peak was littered with corpses and the smell of blood was extremely pungent. When he accepted this mission, the Shattering Cloud sect gave Yixian a piece of information. The information said that the bandits of Blackwater Mountain committed all sorts of crimes and had once destroyed several towns. Not many people survived from the caravan that they robbed. The ones who survived were usually women, and then they were brought back to the stronghold to enjoy themselves. Therefore, these people deserved to die. Let's kill them too. Lu Buping also reacted and began a frenzied slaughter. In less than half a minute, there were hundreds of corpses on the ground. Blood covered the ground. Apart from a small number of bandits who managed to escape, most of them died here. The battle ended. Only Yixian and the other 2 were left alive. Junior brother Ning, go and release the people that the bandits robbed, Lu Buping said to Ning Chuan. Okay. Ning Chuan quickly left. Very quickly, dozens of women ran out. Most of them were under 30 years old. Yixian even saw a few girls younger than Lu. The 4 of them first arranged these women together. Then, they began to search for the treasures of the Blackwater Mountain Range's leader. After they buried the valuable items in a place, they escorted these women down the mountain. When they returned to the peak of Blackwater Mountain and were preparing to distribute the spoils of war, Yixian finally opened his mouth. Senior brother, now, shouldn't you explain to me what's going on with that spirit beast? Hearing this, Lu Buping and Ning Chuan's expressions changed. Junior brother, you must have guessed it. We came to Blackwater Mountain this time not entirely for the experiential training mission. Lu Buping knew that this matter could not be hidden, so he began to explain. I received a piece of news before that a spirit beast was discovered in Blackwater Mountain. Moreover, it's a spirit beast that is waiting to give birth. Spirit beasts were creatures more powerful than demonic beasts. They were equivalent to human true spirit realm martial artists. Senior brother, even if it's a spirit beast waiting to give birth, it's still not something we can deal with. Yixian asked. Spirit beasts were even more terrifying than 10th level demonic beasts. Even if it was waiting to give birth, it was still not something normal people could deal with. That's right. That's why I brought a strong poison this time. Senior brother Lu suddenly took out a palm-sized cloth bag. This amount was a little too large. What kind of poison can poison a spirit beast? Yixian asked in disbelief. Junior brother, don't worry. This will definitely cause the Black Water Dragon to lose most of its battle strength. Senior brother Lu suddenly smiled slyly. Junior brother Yi, if you are interested, we can make a deal. We don't want the things in this Blackwater Mountain Range as long as you help us. How about it? Hearing this, Yixian wanted to spit out a mouthful of salt soda water to kill him. Although this Blackwater Mountain Range had many good things, but the total was only around 20 million. And the value of a spirit beast far exceeded that. Senior brother, do you think I'm an idiot? A spirit beast has a nidin. A nidin of a spirit beast is worth at least 10 million taels of gold. Why don't we trade? Yixian snorted. 10 million taels of gold was also 1 billion taels of silver. As long as it was a person, they would be moved. Lu Buping's expression changed again. Fine. As long as you can obtain this nidin, I'll give you 10%. Chapter 69. Impossible. Before Yixian could finish his words, Lu Buping objected. If Yixian took 30% each, then the remaining 70% would be split between them. Each person would only get 20%. Junior apprentice brother Yi, you can't be too greedy. You only contributed a little. This information was obtained by senior apprentice brother Lu in the first place, and he was also the one who prepared the poison. It's already not bad that you're getting 10%, Ning Chuan said with a frown. Yixian pondered for a moment. He felt that Ning Chuan's words made sense. He didn't contribute anything, so 10% was already a lot. However, he still pointed at the hole in the ground and said, "Okay, then I'll take a step back. I only want 20% in these things. How about it?" Lu Buping also hesitated. Now that Yixian already knew about this matter, if they didn't agree, he would go down the mountain and spread the news. At that time, they wouldn't even be able to drink the soup. "Okay, 20%. Junior brother, junior sister, what do you think?" Lu Buping nodded. They originally wanted to act with 3 people, but now with Yixian this freak, their safety was increased by a lot. "Okay." Ning Chuan also nodded. As for the silent Guan Yulan, she also agreed. TSK 20%. Seems that I can break through again. The rest will be the medical fees." Yixian was secretly happy, but the medical fees were a little expensive. "In that case, the 3 of us will go look for the Blackwater Lake first. Junior brother, you arrange these things yourself," Lu Buping said and left with Ning Chuan and Guan Yulan. Yixian was still thinking about how to send them away, but he didn't expect them to leave by themselves. This saved him a lot of effort. Hee. I'll break through to the mid-stage of the 8th realm first. Yixian didn't think too much. After Lu Buping and the other 2 left, he devoured the things he collected from the Blackwater stronghold one by one. Ding, the host broke through to the mid-stage of the 8th realm. Breakthrough. However, there were very few things that were worth more than 1,000,000, so the devouring points weren't much, only 8. However, Yixian's devouring points had exceeded 100 because of this. "Let's follow them first. I don't want them to leave me behind," Yixian thought to himself and immediately followed them. "Junior brother Yi, why have you come?" Lu Buping turned around, looking at Yixian who had hurried over. "I shoveled some dirt in. Since the bandits are gone, it doesn't matter," Yixian replied casually. At this time, he deliberately suppressed the spiritual energy fluctuations. Hence, Lu Buping and the others could not detect anything at all. Junior martial brother Yi is truly courageous, Lu Buping praised but muttered in his heart. "If you lose it, let's see how you cry." The 4 of them walked towards the back of the Blackwater Mountain. According to the information that Lu Buping obtained, the Black Water Dragon lived in a lake behind the mountain. Therefore, this target was not difficult to find. The 4 of them walked around the mountain for a while, and found a lake that was smaller than a basketball court. "Senior martial brother, that Black Water Dragon lives here?" Ning Chuan stood at the edge of the lake and asked curiously. "No, to be precise, it lives in a cave under the lake. The Black Water Dragon occasionally came up to take a breather before it was discovered," Lu Buping explained. "That means we have to go into the water?" Ning Chuan frowned. "That's right." Lu Buping nodded and asked, "Junior martial brother Yi, how is your swimming?" "Swimming?" Yixian frowned slightly. He knew how to swim, but he had never tried diving. However, at this time, he suddenly remembered that there was an item called the water avoidance pearl in the devouring system. As long as it was in the mouth, it could allow one to move underwater for an hour. "No problem." Yixian nodded. "In that case, the 3 of us will go into the water to search for the location of the cave. Junior martial sister Guan, stay on the shore." Lu Buping finished speaking and began to take off his clothes. Guan Yulan also silently turned around. Although she hated this kind of behavior, she had no choice, right? Yixian could only begin to take off his clothes. Although he had the water avoidance pearl, he still had to pretend. Plop! 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 The 3 of them jumped into the lake one after another and dived down. Yixian had already spent some points to buy a water avoidance pearl. He put it in his mouth and began to dive. This lake was quite deep. He had only dived a little more than 10 meters, but it was already dark. In desperation, he could only use one hand to send out a spiritual energy slash to illuminate the surroundings. The spiritual energy slash was sent out for more than 10 meters before dissipating. Damn, my luck is too good. I found the cave in such a short time. Yixian looked around and found that the radius of the cave was at least 5 meters. It should be the Black Water Dragon's cave. Immediately he swam up again. Guan Yulan was guarding the shore of the lake. When she saw Yixian, she immediately showed a look of disdain. How long had it been since he went down? And Yixian had already come back up. How dare he say that he had no problem with swimming? Yixian was too lazy to pay attention to her, so he quietly sat by the shore and waited. The physique of a warrior was much stronger than that of an ordinary person. After Lu Buping went down, Ning Chuan took more than 2 minutes to swim back up. Junior brother Yi, is there one on your side? Lu Buping asked. Yes, about 15 meters away from the lake. Yi Xian nodded, then asked, Senior brother Lu, if there is no land in the cave, what should we do? No, that black water dragon is actually a single horn dragon, not a deep sea type dragon. It can't breathe in the water, so it needs to come up for air. It has come out of the lake twice, so there must be a cave. Lu Buping explained. Oh, that's fine. Yi Xian nodded. As for how to bring the poison into the water, it was relatively simple. He just needed to wrap it with a special waterproof wax paper. However, would this poison really work? That was a spirit beast. However, since he was here, Yi Xian naturally had to go down and take a look. After all, Lu Buping's grandfather allowed him to come, so this poison must be effective. Plop! 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 The 4 of them directly jumped into the water again, but this time they were wearing clothes. It was too dark under the water, so Lu Buping also used a night pearl, and he led the way in front. The 4 of them quickly dived, found the big cave and swam in. This is just a cave. That black water dragon better not come out for a stroll, or else we won't be enough for it to swallow. Yi Xian was also extremely nervous in his heart, but this worry was unnecessary. After swimming for half a minute, they floated to the surface. Chapter 70. Shua, everyone be quiet. Lu Buping went ashore first and reminded them softly. Yi Xian and the other 2 went ashore one after another. They did not dare to use their spirit power to shake off the water on their clothes, for fear of disturbing the black water dragon inside. Guan Yulan went ashore before Yi Xian, and Yi Xian followed behind her. With the help of the night pearl's light, Yi Xian also saw a graceful body. Her figure is not bad, Yi Xian muttered in his heart. However, before he could continue admiring, a wave of spirit power surged out from Guan Yulan's body and shook off the water on her clothes. Wang! Hearing this sound, Lu Buping trembled violently and turned his head to whisper, Junior Guan Yu? Yi Xian was also helpless. Guan Yulan risked alerting the enemy and wanted to dry her clothes. This mentality was not good. Guan Yulan did not speak. This Junior Guan is too much. Why is she putting on airs? If I had known, I would have asked someone else. Lu Buping was also a little annoyed. If they disturbed the one-horned dragon inside, then things would be troublesome. However, he did not dare to say this out loud. He could only fantasize about it in his mind. After all, Guan Yulan was the sect master's adopted daughter. Everyone be careful. Don't make any more noise. Lu Buping reminded again, and then carefully moved forward while sticking close to the walls of the cave. This cave was very dark. With the help of the night pearl's light, they could barely move forward slowly. Drip. From time to time, drops of water would fall from the ceiling of the cave. After moving forward for about 5 minutes, they heard an unusual sound. It was a bit like the sound of a volcano erupting. That unique dragon should be giving birth. Let's hurry up. Lu Buping revealed a happy expression. If this dragon was giving birth, then perhaps there was no need to use poison. They walked for a while, and then shockingly found that there was light in front of them. This should be the cliff behind Black Water Mountain. Maybe there is another exit, Lu Buping said as he walked to the corner and quietly poked his head out. Sure enough, in a corner of the cave there was a huge creature. It was a horned flood dragon. Its body was very long, and it looked to be at least 20 meters long. Yi Xian also snuck a glance. His first impression of the flood dragon was that it was terrifying. He originally had a phobia of the deep sea, but now that he saw such a huge underwater creature, he immediately swallowed his saliva. Wait a minute, were they going to fight this thing? Senior apprentice brother Lu, we're really going to. Ning Chuan was also frightened. This one-horned flood dragon was the biggest creature he had ever seen in his life. Since we're already here, how can we retreat? Although Lu Buping said so, he was extremely terrified in his heart. After all, this was a spirit beast. At this time, Guan Yulan, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, "Look over there." Everyone followed her gaze and saw that there was already an egg bigger than a human in another tribe of the cave. A flood dragon egg. This flood dragon is a spirit beast. If this flood dragon egg is sold, it would probably be worth hundreds of millions. If it is nurtured well, it may be another spirit beast in the future. Lu Buping's eyes revealed a greedy look. Having a spirit beast as a pet, it was very impressive. However, the lifespan of a flood dragon was very long, and the lifespan of a human was definitely incomparable. Therefore, this flood dragon egg was probably not wanted by anyone because the time to nurture it was too long. However, for now they had to kill this one-horned flood dragon in front of them first. Senior apprentice brother, that flood dragon seems to be laying an egg. What should we do? Ning Chuan looked at the flood dragon in the corner and said slowly. At this time, Yixian also noticed that the flood dragon's abdomen split open, and half of the egg was already exposed. Just in case, let's poison it first. Lu Buping took out the cloth bag and then said to Yixian, this poison will be effective if it is inhaled, but if it is swallowed by the flood dragon, the effect will be even greater. Can you use a bow and arrow to send this over? Sending poison into the flood dragon's mouth is not practical, but I can make it explode in front of the flood dragon. Yixian took the cloth bag and said slowly, it's fine. Now that this flood dragon is laying an egg, and with this poison, its strength will be greatly reduced. I'm afraid it will be less than 1/10 of its original strength. Lu Buping nodded. Yixian took out the broken cloud bow. He had forgotten to put away the broken cloud bow, but he did not expect it to come in handy now. He looked at the one-horned flood dragon that was laying an egg, and then suddenly threw the cloth bag in his hand over. That one-horned flood dragon also heard a slight sound. When it raised its head, it saw something flying towards it. No, it was two. Shio! Boom! A star-bursting arrow accurately hit the cloth bag, blowing it into pieces. The poison powder in the cloth bag also scattered in an instant, and the one-horned flood dragon's face was covered in dust. Haha, it's done. Junior brother Ye's archery is good. Lu Buping was overjoyed, and directly pulled out his long sword. The one-horned flood dragon ate a noseful of dust, and also inhaled a lot of poison powder. More of it was absorbed by its skin. In an instant, this one-horned flood dragon let out a howl. However, it was currently giving birth and could not move. Otherwise, it would directly rush over and tear apart Yixian and the others. Senior brother, are we going now? Ning Chuan turned and asked. No rush, let's wait for the medicine to take effect. This time the heavens are helping me, it's actually laying an egg. Lu Buping could not hide his joy. This time they had already discussed. Excluding Yixian's 20%, they would divide the remaining 80% according to 50-32. Lu Buping would get 50%, Guan Yulan 30%, and Ning Chuan 20%. Of course, Lu Buping still had a plan in his heart, and that was to get all of it. Of course, this would have to be done with a lot of risk. Senior brother, it's working. Ning Chuan suddenly said. Everyone stared, only to see that this one-horned flood dragon's scales began to turn red. Its entire body began to squirm, and at the same time it let out some strange sounds. Woo-ao! The one-horned flood dragon's body began to squirm on the ground like a snake. Its claws also began to scratch the ground, as if it was very uncomfortable. Senior brother, what kind of poison is this? The medicine's effect is so fast? Ning Chuan asked in disbelief. From the time the cloth bag exploded until now, it had not been more than 10 seconds, and the target was a spirit flood dragon. This poison was too powerful, right? Lu Buping smiled knowingly and said, this is actually not poison, but a kind of holy medicine called immovable lust. That bag is enough for 100 men to use continuously for a year. What? Chapter 71. Spring. Hearing this, Yixian and the others turned their heads to look at the one-horned flood dragon again. It seemed to be rubbing its body on the ground. Guan Yulan, who was still a virgin, immediately blushed. She glared fiercely at Lu Buping. What if they were to come into contact with the powder during the battle later? Haha, don't worry, as long as we attack from afar it will be fine. Lu Buping laughed, then walked out and said, it's about time, junior brothers and sisters, let's go. Okay. Ning Chuan also took out a long sword. This one-horned flood dragon was laying eggs, and it was poisoned, so it was very weak. It probably did not have much fighting strength left. This was the best time for them to go on the field. Guan Yulan looked at the flood dragon and felt bad for it. However, after a few seconds of hesitation, she followed suit. Woo! The flood dragon could not dodge. It could only take the attacks of Yi Xian and the others, but its hard scales directly blocked the attacks of the four. Not good, we underestimated its defense. Attack its abdomen. Lu Buping was not a fool. He already knew that their attacks would not have much effect on the flood dragon, but this time even the heavens were helping them. The flood dragon was laying eggs. Although the scales of the one-horned flood dragon were hard, its abdomen did not have any scales, and the giant egg was only half laid. If they attacked its abdomen, it would definitely be severely injured. Boom! Boom! These attacks fell on the flood dragon's abdomen. There was indeed some effect, but it was not very good. The damage was not very strong. After all, this was a spirit beast. Although it was very weak, its physical strength surpassed that of a 10th level monster beast. Under the difference in level, Yi Xian and the others' attacks could not break its defense. However, these attacks still caused a lot of pain to the flood dragon. Damn, its skin is quite hard. Watch how I kill your son. Ningchuan suddenly ran to the side, and then directly slashed at the flood dragon. This time, it didn't attack the horned serpent dragon, but the unborn serpent dragon's egg. Not good. Yi Xian's face sank, so did Lu Buping, but their shouts could not stop Ningchuan. Gotcha! The attack fell on the flood dragon's egg. Breaking the eggshell, it began to flow out a thick, turbid liquid, faintly visible. It's over. Yi Xian was shocked. This Ningchuan's courage. He actually dared to attack the flood dragon's egg in front of it. Was this not courting death? Sure enough, the moment the eggshell broke, the horned flood dragon was also stunned. Then it roared towards the sky. Its roar reverberated throughout the cave, almost deafening the four of them. The horned flood dragon that was still wriggling suddenly stood up and stretched out its claws to grab Ningchuan. However, it was extremely weak and its movements were very slow, so it did not manage to grab Ningchuan. Attack, 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 attack the egg! Lu Buping had long scolded Ningchuan in his heart. This one-horned flood dragon was already so weak, and he still wanted to provoke it. What if the one-horned flood dragon went crazy? As soon as he finished speaking, the four of them started to madly attack the giant egg. Yi Xian also mustered up all his strength and continuously shot out the most powerful exploding star arrows. Boom! Boom! These attacks had already beaten the unborn dragon's egg beyond recognition. At the same time, the flood dragon's abdomen was already bleeding. It was too horrible to look at. Roar! The flood dragon once again roared to the sky. It stretched out its claws to attack, but it still could not catch anyone. However, its speed at this time was faster than before. Not good, it began to recover. Yi Xian shouted. What? Lu Buping also reacted. It seemed that they still underestimated the ability of a spirit beast. At this time, in less than half a minute, this flood dragon was able to overcome Lu Buping's poison. If it recovered, then Yi Xian and the others would die here. You guys attacked the stomach, I'll go blind it. Yi Xian shouted again, then quickly began to move. He pulled the cloud-splitting bow, and an exploding star arrow was shot out. Boom! The exploding star arrow exploded in the flood dragon's eye socket, but the flood dragon had already closed its eyes, so it was not injured at all. Damn Ningchuan, this stupid pig. Lu Buping cursed, suddenly took out a delicate dagger from his arms, and attacked again. However, his attacks had also become much more powerful due to the difference in weapons. Flood dragon, die for me. Lu Buping's attacks suddenly became much stronger. Each time, it could make the flood dragon cry out in pain. That is. Yi Xian also noticed this, but he did not think much about it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he instantly shot a few exploding star arrows. Boom! 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 After the flood dragon suffered the last exploding star arrow, its huge body suddenly trembled. Yi Xian looked and found that blood suddenly flowed out of the flood dragon's eye socket. It hit. It is blind in one eye. As long as its other eye is blinded, then its threat will be greatly reduced. Yi Xian thought for a moment, took out a spirit recovery pill, and then continued to attack. As for Guan Yulan and the other two, they were still relentlessly attacking the one-horned flood dragon's abdomen. Due to the birth, there was already a wound there, and after being attacked by them for a while, it was already badly mutilated. Soul chasing / die for me. Lu Buping's whole body was like a madman. He began to attack crazily. The dagger in his hand increased his attack by several times. Senior brother Lu actually has a spirit weapon? Ning Chuan also guessed at once. At this time he finally understood why Elder Lu was so assured to let Lu Buping kill the spirit beast. It turned out that he had this trump card. A spirit weapon could greatly increase a martial artist's attack. Even a martial artist of the 10th stage of the martial path might not have it. Now that Lu Buping had this spirit weapon dagger, his attack was probably comparable to a martial artist of the 9th stage of the martial path. Die for me. Lu Buping was also muddle-headed, crazily attacking the flood dragon, because as long as this flood dragon died, then his share was almost enough to buy a spirit weapon. Or even 2 of them. Boom! At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly cried out in alarm, because he'd successfully blinded both of the horned flood dragon's eyes. Fortunately, he was fast enough to walk on the stone wall for a short time, otherwise it would have been difficult to do. Chapter 72. As long as he could cut the one-horned flood dragon into 2 pieces, then this one-horned flood dragon would definitely die. Although it would not die immediately, it would definitely bleed to death. It was only a matter of time. Yi Xian also immediately nodded and raised his hand to shoot a few exploding star arrows. Now he also understood that the dagger in Lu Buping's hand was a precious spirit weapon. If he had this spirit weapon, he was afraid that he could cut this flood dragon into 2 halves in minutes. Unfortunately, Lu Buping would definitely not lend out such a precious thing. Roar! The one-horned flood dragon's body began to recover. The effect of the aphrodisiac was about to wear off, but at this time, with the large area of injuries and blinded eyes, its threat was not big. It did not expect that when it was at its weakest, there would be 4 humans. But at this time it did not do anything. It was blind, it could not even catch a human. Boom! Yi Xian and the other 3 attacked crazily. The wound on the one-horned flood dragon's abdomen continued to expand. After Lu Buping took out the spirit weapon, their damage was calculated in tons. Haha! Spirit beast inner core, ha ha ha. After Lu Buping took out the spirit weapon, his whole person changed. From time to time he would laugh loudly, which made Yi Xian think that he was crazy. However, Lu Buping looked at the one-horned flood dragon's wound, and the greed in his eyes grew. He glanced at the 3 people around him, and a thought suddenly popped up in his heart. Junior brother, don't blame me for being ruthless. Lu Buping's eyes flashed. Holding the spirit weapon dagger, he suddenly attacked the nearest Ning Chuan. It was a 7th grade martial art soul-chasing slash. His realm was originally higher than Ning Chuan, and now with this spirit weapon, his attack power and speed were definitely beyond Ning Chuan's imagination. Ning Chuan felt that something was wrong, and when he turned around, there was a slash across his body. Hiss! Ning Chuan's eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. The 2 of them were about the same age and played together since childhood. Ning Chuan would never have thought that Lu Buping would attack him. Ning Chuan's body separated and fell to the ground. His body could not withstand such a high-intensity slash. What? Guan Yulan and Yi Xian were also shocked. By the time Guan Yulan reacted, Lu Buping had already raised his hand and unleashed another soul-chasing slash. Junior sister, don't blame senior brother. As long as I have this Naiden, then senior brother can directly break through to the 9th stage of the martial path, or even the 10th stage and become the Shattering Cloud sect. No, become the #1 genius of the South Forest region. This was Lu Buping's thought before he acted. The soul-chasing slash, enhanced by the spirit weapon, was astonishingly fast. In the blink of an eye, it was already in front of Guan Yulan. Guan Yulan also gave up on resisting. She knew that she couldn't avoid this attack. If she couldn't, then she would end up like Ning Chuan, becoming a cold corpse. However, right at this critical moment, another burst of energy suddenly collided with the soul-chasing slash. Boom! When the 2 spiritual energies collided, a strong shockwave was created and Guan Yulan was sent flying. Without a doubt, this sudden attack was Yi Xian's supernova arrow. Damn it! Seeing this, Lu Buping cursed inwardly. How could he forget about it? At the same time he was also very shocked. Because in his hand was a spirit weapon, its attack power was probably comparable to a 9th stage martial path cultivator. However, such an attack was actually defeated by Yi Xian. How was this possible? Senior brother Lu, You're harming your own senior brother. Yixian looked at Lu Buping with a smile that wasn't a smile. From the beginning, he had guessed that this might happen, so he intentionally or unintentionally opened up a distance with Lu Buping along the way. He didn't expect that it would actually happen. A Niden is worth more than 1 billion. You want me to share it with you? Don't even think about it. Junior brother, I know you're powerful, but can you block this spirit weapon in my hand? Lu Buping stopped attacking and coldly looked at Yixian. Didn't I block it just now? Yixian lightly smiled. Then I'll see if you can continue to block it. Lu Buping suddenly took out a pill from his chest. This pill was the bursting spirit pill that Yixian was incomparably familiar with. Lu Buping was originally at the peak of the 7th stage of the martial path, which was the realm that benefited the most from the bursting spirit pill. After taking the bursting spirit pill, his realm would break through to the 8th stage of the martial path. At that time, relying on the spirit weapon in his hand, Yixian really wouldn't be able to block it. Damn! I actually forgot about this kind of pill. Yixian angrily cursed in his heart. However, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. The 100 Beast bloodline, the Chasing Wind Leopard bloodline, and the rank 9 Heavenly Illusion movement technique were enough to allow him to avoid Lu Buping's attack. Shio! A soul-chasing slash that was even more ferocious than before flashed past. Yixian dodged to the side, and the soul-chasing slash destroyed his afterimage. He directly entered the stone wall and left a 2-meter deep mark on it. Yixian didn't dare to be careless. This soul-chasing slash was probably enough to split his body in half. Humph! I still underestimated you, but can you block it? Lu Buping's eyes flashed with a fierce light as his gaze fell on Guan Yulan. Guan Yulan was just saved by Yixian, but the impact of the attack also heavily injured her. Right now she was very weak, just like the single-horned flood dragon. Not good. Yixian's face sank. He hurriedly shot a few bursting star arrows. He had to interrupt Lu Buping's attack, or else Guan Yulan would be in danger. Although Guan Yulan only spoke one sentence to him, they both lived in the bamboo forest. If he could save her, Yixian didn't mind saving her. Boom! 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 3 bursting star arrows were only able to block Lu Buping's soul-chasing slash. This was the difference between a high-grade mortal weapon and a spirit weapon. Let's see how many times you can block it. Lu Buping's anger rose. Before, he was beaten by Yixian twice. This time he wanted revenge. Boom! 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 The sound of spiritual energy colliding continued, echoing throughout the entire cave. It was like thunder, as if the entire cave was going to collapse. Sand and stones were constantly flying in the cave. Sand and dust filled every corner, as if a sandstorm had swept through. In a short 5 seconds, Yixian shot more than 10 bursting star arrows. The spiritual energy in his body was rapidly depleting. He estimated that he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Not good. I estimate that I can only shoot 5 more bursting star arrows. If the spiritual energy in my body is depleted, then I will definitely die here. Chapter 73. However, it was not worth it to use so many devour points to deal with this small fry. However, this was the only way. However, at this moment, Lu Buping's body suddenly turned red. His body temperature rose rapidly, and a small tint appeared on his lower body. Yixian's eyes lit up as he immediately reacted. He laughed loudly in his heart and said, "The heavens are really helping me. The unfairness of the road must have also been affected by that unmovable lust. I have the 100 Flowers bloodline, so this thing is useless to me." Lu Buping also reacted. However, this thing was used by high-level warriors. He was only in the 9th level of the martial path. He could not withstand it. He immediately pounced toward Yixian like a hungry wolf. "Damn, you're targeting me? Scram!" Yixian was scared half to death. He hurriedly pulled his bow and shot a supernova arrow. Boom! The exploding star arrow hit Lu Buping's chest and instantly exploded, sending him flying. "You're even wearing a treasure armor. Humph, watch me take your spiritual weapon." Yixian rushed forward and caught Lu Buping's spiritual weapon dagger. Now the outcome was clear. "You killed Ning Chuan. I have a witness, so if I kill you, the Shattering Cloud sect will definitely not pursue the matter. Lu Buping, be a good person in your next life." Yixian thought in his heart. He drew his bow again. This time he wanted to blow Lu Buping's head. However, at this moment, he suddenly heard a rustling of grass in the wind. What's that sound? Yixian's heart froze. He felt that something was wrong. However, in the next moment his smile abruptly stopped. This was clearly the roar of the horned flood dragon. Moreover, it came from another exit. Could it be that there is another horned flood dragon? There were two of them in the beginning, not one? When such a thought flashed through his mind, Yixian was also shocked. Damn, if there are two, then what's the point of playing? Run! Yixian's face darkened. He quickly turned around and prepared to leave. However, in the next moment he stopped in his tracks. After pondering for a moment, he decided to bring Guan Yulan along. He quickly rushed to the semi-conscious Guan Yulan and carried her in his arms. Then he turned around and ran. Don't leave! Lu Buping still maintained a shred of consciousness and shouted at Yixian. However, Yixian simply ignored him and left. As for Lu Buping, due to the immovable obscenity effect on his body, his battle prowess was probably not even half. However, he could hear the roar coming from the other tunnel. He immediately crawled towards the direction that Yixian had left. He even used his hands, rolling and crawling, preparing to leave. But at that moment, a sudden gust of wind blew, blowing him against the stone wall. It was the breath of the one-horned flood dragon. Lu Buping still wanted to run, but a chill rose from his back. Immediately after, he saw a bloody mouth appear on top of his head. It's over. Lu Buping's last bit of consciousness thought so. Yixian, who had left quickly, also ran back along the original path. He had already heard the sound of the other flood dragon returning. Immediately, he used what little spiritual energy he had left to use the 9th grade martial art, Heaven's Illusion Body Technique. Although he was still carrying a burden, the 100 Beast bloodline was not for show. Guan Yulan's weight did not affect him much. Oh my, it seems to have caught up. After hearing the voice behind him, Yixian's face turned pale. This was because the voice behind him was rapidly approaching. At that moment he suddenly remembered that he was still holding a spiritual weapon in his hand. Devour! At that moment, Yixian quickly devoured the dagger. Ding, the host has devoured the low-grade spiritual weapon, Cold Light Dagger. The host has received 430 devour points. Ding, the host has broken through to the peak of martial arts level 8. Although there was probably no hope for the inner core, obtaining a spiritual weapon dagger was already very good. What? A spiritual weapon worth more than 400 million points can't even increase by 2 levels? Yixian was shocked. How difficult was it to increase this level? He quickly cursed the 18 generations of ancestors of the system in his heart. Then he carefully felt it. He was originally in the middle of martial arts level 8. Now he was at the peak of martial arts level 8. Although he increased by 1 level, it was only a small level. His physique would not change much. However, behind him there was a heavyweight monster chasing after him. If it caught up, he would definitely become food in its stomach. Damn it, another bloodline. Yixian quickly made a decision. Then he spent 50 bloodlines to exchange for a bloodline called Blade Fish. The wind-chasing leopard was the fastest bloodline on land. This blade fish was the same as the wind-chasing leopard, but its home ground was underwater. After fusing with the bloodline of the blade fish, Yixian ran to the place where they came ashore. Plop! Yixian carried Guan Yulan and plunged in. Immediately after, the image of a sharp blade fish condensed from spiritual energy appeared around him. His speed wasn't the slightest bit slower than on land. Go! Yixian was scared out of his wits. This was because he was being chased by a flood dragon. Moreover, it was an amphibious single-horned flood dragon. It could use its claws to walk on land and swim in water. After exchanging for the blade fish bloodline, Yixian no longer needed the water avoidance pearl. However, he realized that when he jumped into the water, he did not make any noise at all. This caused Guan Yulan to hold her breath. Damn it! Yixian cursed in his heart. Then, he lowered his head and kissed Guan Yulan's cherry lips. Then, he passed the water avoidance pearl that he had been holding in his mouth to Guan Yulan. I'm so pitiful. I actually lost my first kiss here. But fortunately the other party is a beauty. It's not a big loss. Yixian was very helpless. However, he did not think too much about it. Right now, escaping was more important. However, Guan Yulan had not completely fainted. She was still conscious. Yi Xian's actions had scared her quite a bit. However, with that small bead in her mouth, she felt like she could actually breathe in the water. How magical! At this moment, Yi Xian did not know what she was thinking. He only knew how to run for his life. After fusing with the bladefish bloodline, his speed was very fast. With a kick of his legs, he shot out like a rocket. In the blink of an eye, he rushed out of the cave and arrived at the bottom of the Black Lake. Almost there, almost there. As long as I get ashore, I will be safe. I don't believe that you will leave that injured flood dragon behind. Yi Xian kept praying in his heart. He hoped that he would not be swallowed halfway. Chapter 74. Walala! Yi Xian quickly rushed out of the black water lake and ran towards the forest without looking back. 3 seconds after he left the water, a huge creature jumped out of the water. Single-horned flood dragon. It's here! Yi Xian heard the sound of water behind him. His nerves were already stretched to the limit. He burst out with maximum speed and quickly rushed into the forest. Fortunately, this single-horned flood dragon had some intelligence and did not chase after him. After seeing Yi Xian enter the forest, it dived back into the water. At this time, in a corner of the forest, Yi Xian hid behind a tree and secretly took a look. Damn, this one was a size bigger than the injured single-horned flood dragon. Could definitely swallow a tank in one gulp. Gulp! Yi Xian could not help but swallow his saliva. He also had a lingering fear. If this flood dragon continued to chase, he was afraid that he would not be able to escape death. That scared me to death. What kind of news did Lu Buping get? There were actually 2 flood dragons. I almost died here. Yi Xian stared at the lake for a while and then felt relieved. It seemed that this single-horned flood dragon went to find the injured flood dragon. As for Lu Buping, he was probably also dead. After all, this flood dragon came in from another cave. Fortunately, this time it was only a scare but not a real danger. He had 4 bloodlines in his body, otherwise he might really have died here. Ning Chuan was dead. Lu Buping was also swallowed by the flood dragon. Now only Yi Xian and Guan Yulan were left. When they left the sect, many people must have witnessed it. If Lu Pingping went missing, then the Shattering Cloud sect would suspect him. However, if there was a witness, this was not too bad. Hey Guan Yulan, are you okay? Yi Xian breathed a sigh of relief and then squatted down to ask. However, in the next moment his expression suddenly froze. He saw that Guan Yulan's whole body was red and hot. This was obviously because she was hit by the unchangeable lewdness. Damn, it's definitely because I got it when I was fighting with Lu Buping. I have the 100-flower bloodline, so this thing is useless to me. Yi Xian hurriedly searched through the devouring system to see if there was anything that could dispel the unmovable obscenity effect. However, at this moment, the heavily injured Guan Yulan suddenly let out a moan. Then her entire body pressed against Yi Xian. Her 2 moist red lips directly pressed against Yi Xian's mouth. What? Yi Xian was still deep in thought when he was suddenly ambushed. He was stunned. Oh holy *T, this girl is still touching me. Yi Xian felt that something was wrong with his crotch and his heart trembled. At this moment he was also hesitating in his heart. At this moment there were 2 paths before him. First, he could go with the flow and do Guan Yulan, ending his virginity for so many years. After that, he could use the excuse that he had also been afflicted with the unchangeable lewdness. 2. Persevere and heal He Yulan. Damn, I'm so hot. Yi Xian quickly thought in his heart and then made a decision. He was a righteous man, how could he take advantage of others when they were in danger? If the 100-flower bloodline can prevent me from being affected, then perhaps my blood will also be effective. Thinking of this, Yi Xian cut his wrist and then pushed away Guan Yulan, who had already lost control of herself. However, just as he pushed her away, Guan Yulan pounced on him again. Damn! Yi Xian cursed in his heart. He directly aimed his wrist at his mouth and sucked hard. As expected, Guan Yulan pounced on him again. This time, Yi Xian directly passed his blood into Guan Yulan's mouth through his mouth. Then Guan Yulan swallowed it. Yi Xian had the 100-flower bloodline in his body, which made him immune to all kinds of poisons. After his blood was swallowed by Guan Yulan, it immediately took effect. Yixian could clearly feel that Guan Yulan's body temperature was decreasing and was starting to recover. Damn you! Seeing this, Yixian pushed Guan Yulan away. Guan Yulan hit the tree behind her and slowly regained consciousness. However, what Yixian didn't expect was that the first thing Guan Yulan did after the effects of the poison in her body disappeared was to reach out and chop Yixian's head. Pervert, go to hell! Damn, a woman's heart is really the most poisonous. I saved you so many times, but you want to kill me the moment you wake up. Yixian extended his hand and locked Guan Yulan's hand as he berated. You're a woman with a poisonous heart. Is this how you treat your savior? Go to hell. Guan Yulan's face was flushed red. She raised her leg and kicked Yixian, but she was seriously injured. Even if she was in her peak condition, she couldn't do anything to him at such a close distance. Therefore, she was easily captured by Yixian. Pervert, let go of me! Guan Yulan shouted. Are you sure? Or are you saying that you don't have any consciousness after being poisoned? Yixian asked. Pervert, let go of me! Guan Yulan was pinned under Yixian's body. Her breathing was not smooth. She was already seriously injured, and now her injuries were even worse. Yixian frowned. It seems that you don't remember at all. You were ambushed by Lu Buping, and I blocked the fatal blow for you. Then I carried you out of the water. But you were already poisoned by Lu Buping's unchangeable lascivious. I helped you get rid of it out of the kindness of my heart. If I really wanted to do anything to you, I would have done it with you instead of helping you get rid of the poison. Hearing Yixian's words, Guan Yulan was stunned. Actually, she still had some consciousness before she came out of the water. However, what happened after that was a bit blurry. When she woke up, she found herself in intimate contact with Yixian. Let go of me first, Guan Yulan said again, but her tone was clearly not as strong as before. All right, if you dare to touch me again, I will throw you back into the black water lake and let that dragon swallow you. Yixian coldly snorted, then slowly got up. At such a close distance, he had 100 ways to capture Guan Yulan. Therefore, Guan Yulan was not a threat to him at all. Seeing Yixian take a few steps back, Guan Yulan quickly got up from the ground and tidied up her wet clothes. Although she was fine now, Yixian was still pressing her under his body. Both of their clothes were wet, which allowed her to feel the masculine scent of a man up close. Therefore, her little face was still flushed. Why weren't you poisoned? Guan Yulan asked in surprise. Yixian used his spiritual energy to dry his clothes, then raised his left wrist. I ate a kind of heavenly treasure, so I am immune to poison. You were only able to get rid of the poison because you drank my blood. Blood? Chapter 75. But when Guan Yulan recalled the last scene, she couldn't help but want to tear Yixian into pieces. Yixian was so powerful that he could completely restrain her, but Yixian didn't. He was obviously taking advantage of her. At this time, Yixian suddenly said, Hey, you seem to want to kill me. You're too cruel. I saved you, but you didn't even say a word of thanks. If I had known earlier, I would have left you in the cave to die with Lu Buping. When Lu Buping was mentioned, Guan Yulan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lu Buping was the grandson of one of the Shattering Cloud Sect's elders. Guan Yulan also entered the Shattering Cloud Sect when she was young. Although their relationship wasn't very good, they still grew up together. She did not expect that Lu Buping would want to kill her. But this was also reasonable. Even if they were brothers, they would most likely become enemies because of a demonic beast's inner core. Guan Yulan also sucked in a breath of cold air. When she was about to speak, her blood suddenly surged, and she couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Although Lu Buping's slash was dispersed by Yixian, the force behind it had also seriously injured her. Sigh, you can't die. If you die, people will think that I, Yixian, killed you. Yixian reluctantly exchanged for a bottle of 100 flower dew, and handed it over. Guan Yulan glanced at Yixian cautiously. At this time, she suddenly remembered that she might have left her things in the cave. She didn't even bring her weapons out. Don't worry, this isn't something like untouchable. Otherwise, with your injuries, I'm afraid you won't be able to make it to the Shattering Cloud Sect and will die halfway. Yixian handed the 100 flower dew over. He had also spent a lot of money because this bottle of 100 flower dew was worth 1 devour point. It was very precious. However, he was now a tycoon with 500 devour points in his body, He didn't care about a mere one devour point. Guan Yulan didn't refuse. Although she hated Yixian a little, she still thought that he had a good character. After opening the bottle of 100 flower dew, a fragrant aroma immediately assailed her nostrils. She opened her cherry lips and drank the entire bottle of 100 flower dew in one gulp. Shortly after, the 100 flower dew turned into a warm aura that nourished and repaired her internal organs. Guan Yulan was shocked because the effect of the 100 flower dew was beyond her imagination. In just a few breaths, the pain in her body disappeared and her injuries were mostly healed. If you drink this, you should be fully recovered in half a day, Yixian said. What is this? Guan Yulan couldn't help but ask. Yixian replied, 100 flowers dew. This is something that can't be bought with money. Previously, he had browsed through the entire medicine refinery hall, and the healing medicines inside were at most a few 100,000 taels of silver. Moreover, the effects were much less than the 100 flowers dew. Where did you get it? Guan Yulan asked again. Although she had been poisoned before, after waking up, she found that Yixian had nothing on him. However, he was able to suddenly take out such a precious bottle of healing medicine. How did he do it? You're so annoying. If you ask again, spit it out and return it to me. Yixian rolled his eyes and reacted. Guan Yulan didn't say anything and just silently stood up. Now you owe me a few lives. Once in the cave I saved you once, and once again helped you detoxify your injuries. Remember to return them to me in the future. Yixian casually said. The adopted daughter of the Shattering Cloud Sect's sect master had an extraordinary status. If the Shattering Cloud Sect's sect master returned in the future, he might be able to greatly reward him. This was extremely good. Guan Yulan didn't refute. In fact, she was also quite against Yixian. First, Yixian gave her a bad first impression. Second, Yixian had just taken advantage of her. What are we going to do now? Directly return to the Shattering Cloud Sect? Yixian suddenly asked. You still want to go down? Guan Yulan was stunned. Of course not. There's an even stronger dragon down there. Do you think I'm going to court death? Yixian rolled his eyes and said. Now that Lu Buping and Ning Chuan are both dead, Ning Chuan is still okay. But Lu Buping is Elder Lu's grandson. If he knows that Lu Buping is dead, he'll definitely be furious. When that time comes, then what do you want to do? Guan Yulan asked. Yixian immediately replied. Of course we'll hide it from everyone. After we go back, we'll say that we destroyed the Blackwater stronghold and parted ways with Lu Buping and Ning Chuan. Guan Yulan carefully thought about it and found that this method was feasible. After all, she was only invited by Lu Buping. Moreover, Lu Buping and Ning Chuan would definitely be swallowed by the dragon. Even their corpses wouldn't be found. Yixian and Guan Yulan reached a consensus. They hurriedly left Blackwater Mountain and found an inn to stay. The next day, Guan Yulan's injuries were completely healed. What was incredible was that she even benefited from this disaster. With this injury, she broke through the shackles and broke through to the 8th stage of the martial path. Before they returned to the Shattering Cloud Sect, they also cut off the head of the Blackwater Stronghold's leader, Chao Hu's head. Chao Hu's head was a mission item. When they returned, they had to hand it over to the Shattering Cloud Sect to complete the mission. A few days later, they also returned to the Shattering Cloud Sect. However, what surprised the disciples was that Yixian and Guan Yulan had gone out together. Why did only Yixian and Guan Yulan come back together? There was something fishy. There was definitely something fishy. However, Yixian didn't care about the astonished gazes of the crowd. He directly went to the training hall with Guan Yulan to complete the mission of the Blackwater Stronghold. Hey, didn't the 4 of you do this mission together? Why is it only the 2 of you? The training hall's deacon asked in surprise. Senior apprentice brother Lu and senior apprentice brother Ning went to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyun to train. We didn't go, so we came back first. Yixian casually replied. He wouldn't say that Lu Buping and Ning Chuan had died in the Blackwater Mountain. Oh, okay. But this 7th grade mission was accepted by you, so the mission reward will be given to you first. The training hall's deacon nodded. He compared Chao Hu's head with the portrait, then took out 6 tokens with 100 points each. Yixian put away the 6 tokens and returned to the bamboo forest with Guan Yulan. Take it. It's just the 2 of us now, so it's 50-50. When someone asks, don't let it slip. After returning to the bamboo forest, Yixian threw 3 tokens over and reminded her at the same time. However, after Guan Yulan received the tokens, she actually threw them back. What are you doing? Don't tell me you think you can return the 3 favors with just 300 points? Take it, take it. Yixian threw the tokens back and directly returned to his courtyard. Chapter 76. This trip to the Blackwater Mountain was frightening but not dangerous. Moreover, the harvest was bountiful. First was Guan Yulan. She had a blessing in disguise and broke through to the 8th realm of the martial path. The one with the biggest harvest was naturally Yixian. He had devoured a low-grade spiritual weapon and directly broke through to the peak of the 8th realm of the martial path. He had also obtained more than 400 devouring points. At this time he only had 500 devouring points left. Io, how black-hearted! The cheapest mid-grade bloodline is 1,000 points. This is 500 million silver and 5 million gold. In the house, Yixian's heart was bleeding. The cheapest mid-grade bloodline was actually the 2nd grade of the wind-chasing leopard bloodline. It was worth 1,000 devouring points. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to exchange for it in a short time. But overall, he was quite satisfied because he was just a little bit away from breaking through again. After all, he had devoured a spiritual weapon before. I wonder if Master has returned. I'll give him a surprise. Maybe he'll be happy and give me 100 million. Yixian snickered in his heart. The chief disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect, Zhongyang, broke through to the middle of the 8th realm of the martial path at the age of 18. Yixian was only 15 years old and was already at the peak of the 8th realm of the martial path. After a while, he would probably reach the 9th realm of the martial path. If this news were to spread, it would definitely bring glory to the Shattering Cloud sect. Yixian left his house and then walked towards Zhouzong's courtyard. Before he reached the door, an old voice came from inside. Come in. Yixian was shocked. As expected of the strongest person in the Shattering Cloud sect, he could even hear such a thing. He walked in and saw Zhouzong sitting in the courtyard drinking tea. Yixian, I heard that you went out with Lu Buping and the others to do a mission. How was it? Zhouzong looked at Yixian and slowly said, it was completed smoothly. At the same time, I also obtained an unknown pill. Now I have broken through to the peak of the 8th realm of the martial path. Yixian respectfully cupped his fists and said, what? Before he could finish his words, Zhouzong instantly stood up and exclaimed, peak of the 8th realm of the martial path? Yes, I have broken through. Yixian nodded and then released the spiritual energy that he deliberately suppressed. Zhouzong felt it, and sure enough, it was the peak of the 8th stage of the martial path. Moreover, it was very dense. It was probably not far from the 9th stage of the martial path. Genius, you're really a genius. In just a few days you actually reached the peak of the 8th stage of the martial path. Your aptitude has already far surpassed Zhongyang's. The heavens are really helping me. Oh, but. Haha. You are now the chief disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect. In half a month's time, there will be a competition between the Shattering Cloud sect and the Shattering Sky sect. When the time comes, you will definitely help the Shattering Cloud sect vent our anger. As long as you can help the Shattering Cloud sect win, I will give you 30,000 points. Zhouzong realized that he had almost blurted it out and hurriedly diverted Yixian's attention. He didn't mean this. 30,000 points. Yixian's eyes lit up. That wasn't a small amount. At this time he suddenly thought of a problem and asked, Master, the number 1 inner disciple, senior brother Zhongyang, hasn't returned yet. I haven't challenged him yet. That's right. I don't know when Zhongyang will return. Zhouzong hurriedly nodded, but he added in his heart, Zhongyang won't be back. Yixian didn't care about the number 1 inner disciple position. He just wanted to let everyone know that he was the strongest disciple in the Shattered Cloud sect. Alright, Master, what is the competition between the 2 sects? Yixian asked curiously. He suddenly remembered that the young master of the Million Gold City, Zhang Xiang, had said that he would take revenge in the competition between the 2 sections. Zhouzong explained, the competition between the 2 sects is a competition between the Shattered Cloud sect and the Heaven Cracking sect. It happens once every 2 years. At the same time, we also have some bets. As long as we win, we can get the other sect's bets. However, my shattered cloud sect has already lost 5 times in a row. Bets? Hearing this, Yixian's eyes lit up again. What he lacked the most now was money. The heaven-cracking sect is much stronger than my shattered cloud sect. They also have many geniuses. It is said that one of them reached the peak of the 8th realm at the age of 18. I don't know if he has broken through to the 9th realm recently. Zhou said slowly. The peak of the 8th realm? TCH, in my eyes I can defeat him in 3 rounds. Yixian felt disdain in his heart. With his current strength, he didn't think that there would be any opponents in the same realm. Yixian, in this competition between the 2 sects, you better not embarrass me. Zhou looked at Yixian with satisfaction, a strange light flashing in his eyes. Yes, master. Yixian nodded solemnly. Then he said, Master, your disciple is about to break through the bottleneck. Shouldn't you? Haha. I understand what you mean. However, you have just broken through, so you should consolidate your cultivation. Haste makes waste. Don't let the competition between the 2 sects affect your future cultivation. Zhou stroked his beard and laughed. Damn, it seems that I won't be able to do it. Yixian was very puzzled. He was hesitating whether to tell Zhou the secret. If he did, Zhou would definitely help him and crush the heaven-cracking sect. However, Yixian thought about it and decided to forget about it. He had only met Zhou twice, even though the latter was his master. Master, your disciple will take his leave first. Yixian cupped his fist and walked out. However, after he left, Zhou looked at the courtyard door and muttered, I didn't expect this kid to be more talented than Zhongyang. TSK. Zhongyang, don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame Yixian. It was his appearance that made you worthless. After he finished speaking, he suddenly laughed. Logically speaking, Zhou was Yixian's master. If Yixian told him the secret, it shouldn't be a big deal. However, Yixian felt that it was better to forget about it. Every time he stood in front of Zhou, he would feel his heart palpitate. Perhaps it was because Zhou was too strong. After leaving Zhou's house, Yixian prepared to leave the bamboo forest and walk around. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly walked towards him slowly. It's an elder? Yixian was a little surprised and went up to him. Just as he was about to speak, the elder said, You are Yixian? This kid is really something. May I ask what is the matter, elder? Yixian cupped his fist respectfully. Chapter 77. Although his grandson was beaten up, Lu Qi didn't want to stand up for Lu Buping. After all, conflicts between young people should be resolved by themselves. Hearing this name, Yixian's heart trembled. The reason why he trembled wasn't because this old man's name was weird, but because this elder's surname was Lu. Damn, Lu Buping's grandfather came to find us so quickly. Yixian cursed in his heart, then respectfully cupped his fists and said, After senior brother Lu and senior brother Ning eradicated the Blackwater stronghold, they parted ways with us. I think they went to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyun. 18 mountain ranges of Lianyun? Lu Qi was startled and thought, Does this brat think that he can fight against spirit beasts with a spirit weapon? Damn it! He guessed that Lu Buping thought that he was strong enough after obtaining a spirit weapon, so he excluded Guan Yulan and brought Ning Chuan, who he had a good relationship with, to kill spirit beasts with him. Elder Lu, is there anything else? Yixian asked calmly, but his heart was already exploding. What a joke. If Elder Lu, who was in the 10th stage of the martial path, found out anything, he would be in big trouble. Oh, there's nothing else. Is Guan Yulan inside? Lu Qi asked again. Senior sister Guan is inside. Elder Lu, please. Yixian nodded, but his heart sank. It seemed that Lu Qi had to ask Guan Yulan. After all, Guan Yulan knew about the spirit beasts beforehand. No need. Go do your own thing. Elder Lu waved his hand and walked in alone. Yixian looked at his back and was a little worried. He only hoped that Guan Yulan wouldn't reveal anything. Helpless, he could only go out for a stroll. When he came back, Elder Lu just happened to walk out of the bamboo forest. Looking at his expression, I'm afraid it's not that simple. Yixian's heart trembled. He hurriedly walked into the bamboo forest and walked towards Guan Yulan's residence. Guan Yulan was sitting outside her room. Elder Lu didn't look too good when he left. You wouldn't have exposed yourself, would you? Yixian quickly walked over and asked. Guan Yulan glanced at him and said, "No. Then why does Elder Lu look like his but is on fire?" Yixian recalled the way Elder Lu walked out of the bamboo forest in 3 steps. It was obvious that he was stimulated. Yixian was also wondering if he should not have saved Guan Yulan back then. He suddenly thought that if he was the only survivor that day, it would not have been impossible. Lu Buping only told the news to Ning Chuan and Guan Yulan. If the 3 of them sent him away after flattening the Black Water stronghold, then went to kill the spirit beasts themselves, this was not a bad reason. He just had to pretend that he did not know anything. However, he had already saved her, so he could only remain calm. "I only told him that senior apprentice brother Lu went to kill the spirit beast himself," Guan Yulan replied calmly. "If that's the case, then I'll leave first," Yixian said and turned to leave. Although Guan Yulan was not bad-looking, she was so cold that they probably wouldn't have much to talk about. However, to his surprise, just as he turned around, Guan Yulan opened her mouth and said, "Wait. What?" Yixian turned around and asked. "I have something to ask you," Guan Yulan said as her gaze fell on the front. She gestured for Yixian to sit down. What problem could there be? Yixian was very surprised, but he still sat down in front of her. The 2 of them looked at each other. After a few seconds of silence, Guan Yulan finally opened her mouth and asked, "With your strength, you could have easily subdued me that day. Why did you?" She did not finish her sentence. She knew that Yixian should have understood. Although Yixian's IQ was not high, he was not stupid. He reacted and said in surprise, "Don't tell me you think that I deliberately took advantage of you? Are you kidding me? It only took 2 seconds at most. After I pushed you away, you pounced on me and kissed me." Halfway through his sentence, Yixian felt a cold murderous aura coming from Guan Yulan. "F***ck, didn't we just kiss 3 times? You were the one who initiated it. I was the one who was taken advantage of." Yixian cursed in his heart. He remembered that when Guan Yulan lost control, not only did she kiss him, but she also touched him with her hands. Guan Yulan did not intend to linger on this topic. Although she was in a strange state at that time, she still felt something. It was a very strange feeling. It was the first time in her life that she felt that way. The 2 of them stayed silent for a while. Then, Guan Yulan opened her mouth and said, "Thank you." "What?" Yixian suspected that he'd misheard. This ice-cold Guan Yulan actually said the word "thank you." Was this a dream? Hey, don't think that a thank you is enough. I helped you 4 times in total. I still haven't counted one. If you want to return the favor, give me 1 million. Yixian said and added, "Of course it's gold." 1 million gold taels was equivalent to 100 million silver taels. This was enough for Yixian to break through to the 9th stage of the martial path. Guan Yulan did not expect Yixian to be so vulgar. She also did not expect Yixian to open his mouth like a lion and ask for 1 million gold taels. "Are you sure you want it?" Guan Yulan suddenly asked. This question also made Yixian confused. Could it be that Guan Yulan could really take out 1 million gold taels? "I'm at the critical moment of breaking through. If you give me 10,000 points, then we'll be even. How about it?" Yixian suddenly revealed a cunning expression. Breakthrough? Guan Yulan was shocked. Yixian was already in the 8th stage of the martial path at the age of 15. If he broke through again, wouldn't he be the same as Zhongyang? At this time, she still thought that Yixian was in the early 8th stage of the martial path. Not bad. This deal is reasonable, right? Yixian nodded. Good. Guan Yulan was also straightforward. She directly went into the house and took out some tokens. There was a total of 10 tokens and each one was worth 1,000 points. Damn, there really is one. How much is this girl's net worth? Yixian was not scared to death. Not many people could take out 10,000 points from the Shattering Cloud sect. However, he suddenly remembered that Guan Yulan was the adopted daughter of the Shattering Cloud sect's sect master. Who was the Shattering Cloud sect's sect master? A true spirit realm expert. The entire Shattering Cloud sect was his. He must have left a lot of cultivation resources for Guan Yulan. Damn, I was too kind. The price was too low again. Yixian was very regretful. He was the vice sect master's disciple and received 2,000 points every month. Guan Yulan grew up in the Shattering Cloud sect. Her net worth was probably more than anyone else. Scary. If she went to the alchemy hall to take the things, she would definitely make the alchemy hall go bankrupt. Chapter 78. But all in all, Yixian finally had the resources he needed to level up. As long as he broke through to the 9th stage of the martial path, his strength would increase by a lot. One must know that the 9th stage of the martial path was enough to become a teacher of the Shattering Cloud sect. Even the city lord of the 1,000 Gold City was only at the 9th stage of the martial path. We're even, Guan Yulan said. We're even. Yixian was so excited that he forgot to suppress his spiritual energy. Guan Yulan felt the strong spiritual energy fluctuation, and was so scared that she took 3 steps back. She looked at Yixian in astonishment as if she had seen a ghost. What? You can break through but I can't? I broke through 2 stages at once. Are you jealous? Yixian suddenly revealed a wretched aura. Guan Yulan had never heard of someone breaking through 2 stages at once. However, she also knew that the heavenly Tao was unpredictable, and anything was possible. I'm different from you. Guan Yulan snorted and didn't care at all. Different. Yixian immediately reacted. In the eyes of others, he broke through by eating pills while Guan Yulan broke through by herself. Otherwise, she would have reached the middle of the 8th stage of the martial path, or the peak of the 8th stage of the martial path, or even the 9th stage of the martial path. This made Yixian wonder how much wealth Guan Yulan had. Would it be enough for him to break through to the 10th stage of the martial path? But in the end, these things belonged to Guan Yulan and had nothing to do with him. Suddenly, Yixian had a plan in his heart. Should he find a time to secretly steal all of Guan Yulan's things? After his strength skyrocketed, he would return the money after earning it. At most he would add a bit of interest. Hee. Yixian couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? Guan Yulan was very puzzled. Why did Yixian laugh for no reason after hearing her words? Nothing, Senior Guan. Goodbye. Yixian's face stiffened. After saying that, he turned around and left. Now that he had obtained these points, he had to quickly exchange them for heaven and earth treasures. However, after Yixian left, Guan Yulan stared at his back and fell into deep thought again. Even after Yixian had disappeared into the bamboo forest, she still stared at him. TSK. 10,000 points from the Shattering Cloud sect can be exchanged for 50 stalks of 1,000-year-old blood ginseng worth 2 million. This way I can break through to the 9th level of the martial path. A 15-year-old mentor-level genius will definitely scare the Shattering Cloud sect to death. Yixian thought to himself as he went straight to the alchemy hall. However, the alchemy hall was out of stock. He had no choice but to choose something else. Yixian did not choose to devour this item, which was worth around 100 million taels of silver. Instead, he stored it in his devour space. With just a thought, he could instantly devour anything in the devour space. This way, he could directly break through to the 9th stage of the martial path. He did not know why, but he felt the need to hide his strength. It was not good to always reveal his strength. Next was the competition between the Shattering Cloud sect and the Shattering Sky sect. He felt that his peak 8th level of the martial path, coupled with the 100 Beasts bloodline and the Wind-Seeking Leopard bloodline, was enough to sweep the Shattering Sky sect. This half a month quickly passed. In this half a month, Yixian had also planned a path for himself to grow up. Strength can defeat all tactics. Strength and speed were the paths he was pursuing. He went straight to the Shattering Cloud sect and took out a copy of the Rank 9 martial technique. Then, he stored it in the Devour system. If there was a need in the future, he could just use the Devour points to learn it. Today was the day of the competition between the Shattering Cloud sect and the Shattering Sky sect. Later, the Shattering Cloud sect's team would come to the Shattering Cloud sect. Because the Shattering Cloud sect had lost 5 times in a row, the venue of the competition was the sect that had lost in the previous competition. Junior Brother Yi, come out quickly. The Shattering Sky sect's team is here. We need to go and welcome them. Yixian was still in his courtyard learning martial arts when a voice came from outside the courtyard. It was the second in the inner sect, Huayuan. Creak. Yixian opened the courtyard door and said, Senior Brother Hua, it's just the Shattering Sky sect's team. It's not like the Emperor is coming. What's the big deal? No, every time the Shattering Sky sect comes, all the inner sect disciples have to be present. This is the rule. Junior Brother, come with me quickly. Hui Yuan dragged Yi Xian out of the bamboo forest and went all the way to the shattering cloud sect's mountain gate. At this time, countless disciples, deacons, mentors and elders had gathered in front of the mountain gate. Even the vice sect leader Zhouzong had arrived. He's here, Yi Xian is here. I heard that he will be overseeing the competition between the two sects this time. TSK, this brat only 8 elixirs. What qualifications does he have to be overseeing the competition? I wonder why senior brother Zhongyang hasn't returned yet. Could it be that he was delayed by something? That's right. If senior brother Zhongyang returns, he will definitely be at the peak of the 8th stage of the martial path. Who knows, he might be able to lead our Shattering Cloud sect to victory. Yi Xian's name was widely spread in the Shattering Cloud sect. The inner sect disciples were a little better, but the outer sect disciples didn't know how to appreciate favors. They all thought that Yi Xian's deeds were too exaggerated. How could someone who ate elixirs to reach the 8th stage of the martial path defeat Hui Yuan and the other two? It was obviously a rumor. After Yi Xian arrived, he walked to Zhouzong's side and respectfully greeted him. At this time, a few elders of the Shattering Cloud sect had already gathered around Zhouzong. There were also the disciples of these elders and Guan Yulan. After returning to the Shattering Cloud sect last time, Yi Xian stayed in his courtyard all day long. Therefore, this was the first time he and Guan Yulan met in half a month. Yi Xian obediently stood beside Zhouzong. Then he deliberately glanced around and found that Lu Buping's grandfather, Elder Lu Qi, wasn't around. This Lu Qi went to look for Lu Buping and hasn't returned yet. He might have met with misfortune, Yi Xian thought in his heart. There were 2 spirit beasts at the bottom of the Black Water Lake, and Lu Qi was only a 10th stage martial path cultivator. If he dared to go down, he would definitely be swallowed by the 2 horned flood dragons. If that was the case, Yi Xian was relieved. Yi Xian's gaze fell on Guan Yulan, who was nearby. However, coincidentally, Guan Yulan was also looking at him. Their gazes met at the same time. They were both stunned. Then, Guan Yulan quickly retracted her gaze. However, a blush quickly appeared on her small face. Damn, what's going on? Why is she blushing? Yi Xian didn't understand. They just looked at each other, but Guan Yulan actually blushed. Could it be that Guan Yulan fell in love with him after the previous incident? Chapter 79. Hui Yuan, who was beside Yi Xian, noticed this. He quickly nudged Yi Xian and said, "You're really something. You've only been here for half a month and you've already hooked up with junior sister Guan. You're going to break many people's hearts." "What do you mean hooked up?" Yi Xian asked softly. "Junior sister Guan has already looked at you 5 times since you arrived. How dare you say you haven't hooked up with her?" Hui Yuan said. His words stunned Yi Xian. "Holy **T, you have good eyesight." But then again, 5 times was too much. Could it be that this girl had really fallen for him? This girl's thinking is probably too conservative. It's just 3 kisses. It's not like she'll get pregnant. Yi Xian thought. He only thought that Guan Yulan's abnormal behavior was because she was still brooding over the previous accident. At this time, a cheer suddenly came from the foot of the mountain. Yi Xian looked towards the source of the sound and saw a group of people walking up the mountain stairs. The sky-cracking sect was here. Junior brother Yi, senior brother Zhongyang didn't come back this time. Our sky-cracking sect is relying on you. I heard that in the past few sessions our sky-cracking sect was completely suppressed by the sky-cracking sect. Not a single disciple could beat them. Hui Yuan suddenly whispered to Yi Xian. Didn't win a single match? Yi Xian was shocked after hearing this. This was too fake. Not only did they lose 5 times in a row, but they didn't even win a single match. This was too unreasonable. Then how do the 2 sects compete? Yi Xian asked again. I don't know. It's different every time. It's decided by the sect leaders and elders on the spot. Hui Yuan shook his head. The sky-cracking sect's group was very fast. Soon they arrived at the mountain gate of the sky-cracking sect. Yi Xian looked carefully. There were a total of 5 elders from the sky-cracking sect and more than 10 disciples. The leader was said to be the vice-sect leader of the sky-cracking sect. Oh, Zhangxiang is here too. It seems like he's here for revenge. Yi Xian found a familiar figure in the sky-cracking sect's group. It was the young master of the City of Gold, Zhangxiang. Zhangxiang had also noticed Yi Xian and revealed a vicious glint in his eyes. TSK, I was able to beat the crap out of you last time. This time I will do the same. Yi Xian snorted coldly in his heart. Then, he turned his attention to the other disciples of the sky-cracking sect. Because he was too far away, he could not sense the strength of these people. However, there was one person who gave him a bad feeling. It was a young man who always had a smile on his face. Is this the trump card of the sky-shattering sect? I'm afraid he has already reached the 9th rank of the martial path. Yi Xian guessed in his heart. Although he did not feel the fluctuations of the other party's spiritual energy, his intuition was quite accurate. At this moment, the smiling youth suddenly turned his head and locked eyes with Yi Xian. It's so cold. My back is cold after locking eyes with him. One look and I can tell that he's a person who hides a knife behind his smile. Yi Xian shivered from head to toe and did not look at the youth. He felt that this youth was a little strange. There was an indescribable evil about him. The two sides exchanged pleasantries. Then, Zhouzong ordered some inner sect disciples to entertain the other party and show them around. However, Yi Xian was ignored by him. Yi Xian was the trump card of the sky-cracking sect. He could not expose himself like this. Furthermore, Yi Xian was very good at controlling his spiritual energy. As long as he did not expose himself, even a martial artist in the 10th rank of the martial path would not be able to discover his true realm. At most, they would be able to tell that he was in the 8th rank of the martial path. The people of the sky-cracking sect were invited to the banquet. As for Yi Xian, he returned to the bamboo forest alone. In the afternoon, before the competition between the two sects began, someone came to inform Yi Xian. However, what surprised Yi Xian was that the person who had called him was none other than his neighbor, Guan Yulan. When Yi Xian opened the door to his courtyard, he was shocked. He asked in astonishment, "Why are you here?" Guan Yulan stood outside the door, looking a little uncomfortable. She glanced at Yi Xian and said, "You have to be careful of Fan Yu in the competition between the two sects later. This person is vicious and merciless. During the last competition, he broke the meridians of a senior brother." What? Yi Xian was stunned. Fan Yu? This was the first time he had heard of this name. However, in his mind, he combined this name with the smiling youth who hid a knife behind his smile. This Fan Yu should be the trump card of the sky-cracking sect, and he was the trump card of the sky-cracking sect. Therefore, the two sides would definitely meet. Oh, thank you for the reminder, Senior Sister Guan. Yi Xian cupped his fists. However, in the next moment, Guan Yulan's words almost made him bite his tongue. "Just call me by my name," Guan Yulan said with a red face. Then she added, "The competition between the two sects is about to start. Let's go." This time Yi Xian could confirm that Guan Yulan was interested in him. He had been in the sky-cracking sect for a month, but he had never heard of anyone who dared to call her by her name. Before returning to the sky-cracking sect, Guan Yulan had broken through to the 8th level of the martial path. Then, she had defeated the 3rd-ranked inner disciple. Now, there were not many who dared to call her junior sister. Only the vice-sect leader Zhouzong and the other older generation would call her Yulan. Wow, being handsome is a blessing. Everywhere I go, there will be people who like me. Yi Xian was overjoyed. Xue Qingqing was too young for him. However, Guan Yulan was already 17 this year. She would be 18 after the new year. Girls of this age were not bad. While fantasizing, Yi Xian and Guan Yulan arrived at the sky-cracking sect's martial training field. As soon as they entered, they became the center of attention. Guan Yulan blushed and walked in with Yi Xian. If it wasn't for Zhouzong's order, Guan Yulan probably wouldn't have called Yi Xian. However, this was embarrassing. After today, the entire sky-cracking sect would be discussing whether Yi Xian had won Guan Yulan over because he was in a favorable position. Yi Xian came to the martial training field's martial training field and walked to Zhouzong's side. He said softly, "Master." Beside Zhouzong sat an old man. It was the vice-sect leader of the sky-cracking sect, Li Haodong. "Sect leader Li, let me introduce you. This is my new disciple Yi Xian." Zhouzong introduced him to Li Haodong. "Oh." Li Haodong turned to look at Yi Xian in surprise. He said with disdain, "He's so young. It seems that his aptitude is also good. I wonder if he compares to Fan Yu." Yi Xian is 15 this year. He's already at the peak of the 8th realm. Zhou Tsang added. Li Haodong's expression changed. Sect leader Zhou is really lucky. I'm afraid his aptitude is almost on par with Fan Yu. You flatter me. I'm afraid your sect's Fan Yu is already at the 9th realm, right? Zhou Tsang said with a smile. That's right. Fan Yu broke through to the 9th realm half a year ago. Li Haodong nodded. Chapter 80. Hearing the conversation between Zhou Tsang and Li Haodong, Yi Xian also felt that something was amiss. Although there was nothing wrong with their names, even a fool would be able to tell that something was wrong with their conversation. Yi Xian, sit down with Yulan first. Zhou Tsang said to the two of them. Yes, master. Yi Xian nodded when he heard this. Then, he sat not far away while Guan Yulan sat beside him. Guan Yulan, is there any conflict between master and the sky-shattering sect's vice-sect leader? After sitting down, Yi Xian couldn't help but ask. He had only been in the Shattering Cloud sect for a month, so he didn't know much. However, Guan Yulan grew up in the Shattering Cloud sect, so she definitely knew. He's the vice-sect leader's disciple. His meridians were broken by Fan Yu. Guan Yulan said with a red face, looking like a little girl. The surrounding disciples were stunned. I see. Yi Xian nodded. Now he understood why the vice-sect leaders of the two sects were hostile towards each other. It seemed that the competition between the two sects was quite dangerous. Although there were two elders as the judges, there were still some accidents. Fan Yu participated in the competition when he was 16. 2 years later, he was only in the 9th realm of the martial path. His talent isn't that great. Since that's the case, I'll take revenge for my senior brother. I'll break Fan Yu's meridians too. Yi Xian made a decision in his heart. Since he was paid, he would help him. After all, he was Zhou Tsang's only disciple. He received 2,000 points every month. Naturally, he had to share Zhou Tsang's burden. However, Zhou Tsang was hesitating. He didn't want Yi Xian to fight. I didn't expect him to break through to the 9th realm of the martial path. Seems that I have to be more careful. It wasn't easy for me to find a true spirit realm seed. I can't just let him die like this. Now that my time is almost up, I have to be cautious. I can't let anything happen to him. This was Zhou Tsang's thought. On the surface, he was the vice-sect master of the Shattering Cloud sect, but behind his back, he actually had some unknown schemes. The target of this conspiracy was originally Zhongyang, but now it was Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian was completely unaware of the danger lurking around him. Before Yi Xian arrived, the two vice-sect masters of the Shattering Cloud sect and the Shattering Sky sect had already discussed the contents of this competition. After that, Li Haodong stood up and began to explain the contents of the competition. There were 5 matches in total, but it was not a best-of-3 system. For these 5 matches, they had to draw lots to decide the order of the 1st to the 5th. Then, the number 1 of the two sides would start to fight. However, the winning side could choose to continue to fight. The side that lost 5 matches would be considered the loser. Simply put, as long as number 1 was strong enough, he could fight 5 consecutive battles. On the way here, Guan Yulan had told Yi Xian that the order of battle this time was the order of the inner disciples. Although Yi Xian didn't have a ranking, Zhongyang hadn't returned yet, so he replaced Zhongyang to battle. Yi Xian, you'll draw lots. At this moment, Zhou Tsang suddenly shouted. Hearing this, Yi Xian walked over and pulled out a bamboo stick from the bamboo tube in his hand. Zhu Hong, who is this? When Yi Xian saw the name on the bamboo stick, he was stunned. He didn't seem to have heard of this name. You're drawing the order of the other side. Guan Yulan whispered. Oh, okay. Yi Xian handed the bamboo stick to Zhou Tsang, then pulled out 3 more sticks. They were all names he had never heard of before. This meant that the Shattering Sky sect's trump card, Fan Yu, was ranked 5th. Haha, you're in luck. If Fan Yu was the first to fight, you would have lost 5 consecutive battles. No, 6 consecutive battles. Li Haodong suddenly laughed. 5 consecutive losses referred to losing all 5 matches. However, if they lost this time, the Shattering Cloud sect would have lost 6 consecutive battles. Zhou Tsang's face twitched. He snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Next, it was Li Haodong's turn to decide the order of the Shattering Cloud sect. Huayuan, Dinglong, Susheng, Guan Yulan, Yi Xian. Li Haodong read out the names one by one. Coincidentally, the trump card Yi Xian was ranked 5th just like Fan Yu. As such, the order of both sides was decided. Zhou Cong's expression relaxed a little, but he was still very serious. This was because he could see that in addition to Fan Yu, the Shattering Sky sect had another mid-stage 8th realm martial artist. On the other hand, in addition to Yi Xian, there were only 4 early-stage 8th realm martial artists. If they wanted to win, they had to rely on this last battle. Next, Zhou Cong sent someone to announce the rules and order of the battle. He then carefully reminded Yi Xian and the other 4. Yi Xian, it seems like you're going to fight Fan Yu. However, you have to be very careful. Fan Yu is very skilled. Victory and defeat are common. Zhou Cong reminded Yi Xian. Master, I understand. Yi Xian nodded. He also knew that Fan Yu was already in the 9th realm of the martial path. Furthermore, he had once broken the meridians of one of Zhou Cong's disciples. He was extremely vicious. However, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. Although he couldn't compare to Fan Yu in terms of age and realm, his physique was definitely far superior to Fan Yu's. He believed that he had a high chance of winning this battle. Nearly 1,000 Shattering Cloud sect disciples had gathered in the martial arts field. There were outer disciples, inner disciples, and even mentors and elders. This was Yi Xian's first time fighting in front of so many people. If he wanted to establish himself as the eldest senior brother of the inner sect in these people's hearts, he had to win this battle. I have to win this time. This way I can get 30,000 points and use it to break through to the mid-stage 9th realm of the martial path. Yi Xian secretly thought to himself. The Shattering Cloud sect was actually just a springboard for him. His stage in the future would not be limited to this. Therefore, he would only stay in the Shattering Cloud sect for a while. When the time came, he would leave. The competition between the two sects starts now. Just as he was deep in thought, someone suddenly walked up to the ring and shouted. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed. He was shocked to find that the referee of the competition was actually their Mountain Guardian Elder. It is said that this Mountain Guardian Elder is at the peak of the 10th realm of the martial path. He is an expert second only to Master in the sect. Yi Xian thought to himself. Then he followed Hui Yuan and Guan Yulan to the side of the ring. As for the Shattering Sky sect, they stood on the other side of the ring. The bet for the competition between the two sects is 10 million taels of gold. The one who loses 5 rounds will be the loser. The Mountain Guardian Elder continued to shout. The martial arts field, which was originally silent, was suddenly filled with exclamations. 10 million taels of gold was equivalent to 1 billion taels of silver. The bet for the competition between the two sects was actually so big. Chapter 81. Master is really generous. He gave me 3 million taels of gold in one go. Yi Xian thought to himself. Unknowingly, Zhou Cong's position in his heart had increased by a lot. At this moment, the Guardian Elder suddenly shouted. The first battle, Shattering Cloud sects Hui Yuan versus Sky-Splitting sects Zhu Hong. Hearing this, Yi Xian cupped his fist towards Hui Yuan and said, Senior brother, it's time for you to show off your skills. Aha, then I'll go first. Hui Yuan laughed and jumped into the arena. Ding Long and Su Shang also revealed strange expressions. Although they had lost to Yi Xian together with Hui Yuan, they were still very confident in Hui Yuan's strength. Guan Yulan was also the same. Because she had also challenged Hui Yuan when Yi Xian was holed up at home, she lost. Therefore, she was only ranked 3rd in the inner sect, not 2nd. The Sky-Splitting sect's disciple named Zhu Hong had already jumped into the arena. He and Hui Yuan walked to the Guardian Elder's side. Hui Yuan, Zhu Hong. Both of them cupped their fists. The Guardian Elder at the side did not beat around the bush and directly said, There are 2 rules. First, you can't cause death. Second, you lose if you fall out of the arena. The rules were very simple. Both of them nodded. If you understand, then let's begin. The Guardian Elder said and retreated. Hui Yuan and Zhu Hong also took a few steps back. After looking at each other for a few seconds, they suddenly attacked. Rushing Thunder Hand. As soon as the battle started, Hui Yuan used his special skill, the 7th grade martial art, Rushing Thunder Hand. It was the move he used against Yi Xian. His attack was extremely fast. At that time, only Yi Xian was able to react. Therefore, the young man named Zhu Hong was directly hit in the chest by the palm. Pa! A muffled sound was heard, followed by 2 more muffled sounds. Pa! Pa! Zhu Hong was hit by 3 moves in an instant and then fell out of the arena. Hu Yuan won. When the guardian elder shouted this sentence, the entire martial arts field was in an uproar. Ha ha ha. No wonder senior brother Hua is ranked second in the inner sect. He killed his opponent instantly. For Zhu Hong to be sent out by the sky-splitting sect to participate in the competition, his strength is definitely not weak. However, senior brother Hua is even stronger. My Shattering Cloud sect has been defeated 5 times in a row. This time we can finally turn things around. The disciples in the martial arts field all cheered. At the same time, Li Haodong, who was on the eastern side of the stands, did not look very good either. Although Zhu Hong's strength was not strong, he was still a disciple that was heavily nurtured by the sky-splitting sect. How could he be instantly killed? Sect Master Li, thank you for letting me win. Zhou Tsong was in a good mood. Sometimes face was more important than money. Without a doubt, the sky-cracking sect had lost a lot of face this time. Humph, sect leader Zhou, continue watching. Li Haodong snorted coldly. In fact, apart from Fan Yu, the people who had come to the Shattering Cloud sect to participate in the 2 sects competition were not the true strength of the Shattering Cloud sect. Zhu Hong was not even in the top 10 of the Shattering Cloud sect. However, most of the people in the Shattering Cloud sect considered Zhu Hong to be one of the top 10 experts in the Shattering Cloud sect. Hu Yuan's morale was boosted by his first victory. Due to the rules, he could still continue to fight. Hu Yuan was also very smart. Since he could continue to fight, he used his best martial arts at the beginning. This way, he could save his physical strength and spiritual energy. In the second round, the sky-splitting sect sent a sword martial artist. However, his strength was even weaker than Zhu Hong's. Hu Yuan sent him flying out of the arena with just 2 palms. In the third round, the sky-splitting sect sent a person who was stronger than the previous 2. Therefore, Hu Yuan spent a lot of effort to defeat him. Although he won, Hu Yuan was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Not only was he injured, but he also did not have much spiritual energy left. The person who went up was a martial artist in the middle stage of the 8th level of the martial path from the sky-splitting sect. He was also the young city lord of the Million Gold City, Zhang Xiang, whom Yixian had defeated that day. The fourth round, Hu Yuan of the Shattering Cloud sect versus Zhang Xiang of the sky-splitting sect. Following the voice of the mountain guarding elder, Zhang Xiang, who looked very sorry, finally walked up to the arena. Damn, who is this? His appearance is too. He's too ugly. My stomach is starting to churn. Oh my god, I'll close my eyes first. Junior brother will tell me the result later. This person's appearance is too unique. His strength is probably not that great. I'm afraid that senior brother, Hua, will be able to send him flying with 1 blow. Outside the martial arts field, many people's stomachs were already churning. Many female disciples closed their eyes and did not want to watch this battle. In the martial arts field, Zhang Xiang slowly walked towards Hu Yuan with a gloomy expression. What he hated the most was people telling him what to do. However, there were thousands of Shattering Cloud sect disciples sitting outside the arena. He could not vent his anger on them. However, there was a very good target for him to vent his anger on. Hu Yuan. Now I'll give you a chance. Get out of the arena yourself. Otherwise you'll die a horrible death. Zhang Xiang said to Hu Yuan, who was already at the end of his rope. Humph. Hu Yuan did not refute. He only snorted. Zhou Tsong had already reminded him that Zhang Xiang was a martial artist in the middle stage of the 8th level of the martial path. He was 1 level higher than him. Moreover, he had already consumed a lot of spiritual energy and physical strength. Therefore, it was impossible for him to win this battle. However, due to the rules of the competition, he wanted to exhaust his opponent's spiritual energy as much as possible. In that case, I won't hold back. Zhang Xiang's eyes flashed. His 3 junior brothers had been injured and defeated by Hu Yuan. Therefore, he was here to get back his face. The Shattering Sky sect could not be humiliated anymore. If you're ready, let's begin. The guardian elder at the side said. Whoosh! Before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Xiang's figure flashed as he dashed toward Hu Yuan. At the same time, the long sword in his hand was unsheathed with a clang sound. The body of the sword sparkled under the sunlight, giving off a strange light. It was obviously an expensive upper-grade ordinary weapon. Hu Yuan practiced martial arts with his bare hands and feet. Compared to those who used weapons, it was much weaker. After all, a good weapon could increase the strength of his spiritual energy by a lot. Hu Yuan's face was extremely gloomy. He wanted to try blocking a few times, but when Zhang Xiang rushed in front of him, Zhang Xiang's figure suddenly left an afterimage. What? Hu Yuan's eyes widened. When he came to his senses, he felt a pain in his abdomen. Rip! Zhang Xiang's long sword pierced through Hu Yuan's body and directly penetrated his body. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Humph! Zhang Xiang snorted coldly. He suddenly pulled out his long sword and immediately stabbed a few more times. Hu Yuan spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were full of disbelief. Zhang Xiang's realm was only one level higher than his. How could he instantly kill him? Chapter 82. Is it a level 9 movement technique? Hu Yuan thought to himself. Then he closed his eyes and passed out. If we weren't in the arena, you would be dead. Zhang Xiang snorted. Senior Hua. The crowd burst into an uproar when they saw Hu Yuan fall in the arena. Hu Yuan was pierced by a few swords. Could he be dead? Why didn't the Guardian Elder stop him? Zhang Xiang wins. The Guardian Elder announced. He didn't stop Zhang Xiang because he saw that the wounds were not fatal. As long as they were treated properly, Hu Yuan's life would not be in danger. Ding Long and Su Sheng immediately jumped into the arena when they saw this. However, they didn't have any healing pills on them. They panicked when they saw a large amount of blood oozing out from the wounds. Give this to Senior Hua. Yixian suddenly jumped into the arena and threw a white jade bottle to Ding Long. It was the 100-flower dew that was worth 1 devouring point. Ding Long didn't think much of it. He immediately helped Hu Yuan up and poured the 100-flower dew into his mouth. In an instant, the amount of blood flowing out from the wounds rapidly decreased. What a miraculous healing pill! Ding Long and Su Sheng were shocked. Even Zhang Xiang was shocked. This was the first time they had seen a healing pill that worked so well and was so fast. However, this wasn't the time to ask about it. Su Sheng hurriedly carried Hu Yuan down the arena. Elder Bai Lai also rushed forward and began to treat Hu Yuan. As for Ding Long, he stayed in the arena. The disciples of the Skycracking sect are indeed ruthless. Zhang Xiang, your next opponent is me. Ding Long, who was ranked 3rd in the inner sect, snorted coldly. Don't worry. You will end up like him. Zhang Xiang said. Suddenly, his gaze fell on Yixian. Loser, why are you looking at me? If you want to fight me, you have to win 3 more rounds. However, I'll warn you first. If you see me, you will die miserably. Yixian suppressed the killing intent in his heart and said coldly. He then turned around and left the arena. Obviously, Zhang Xiang was venting his anger on Hu Yuan, which made Yixian very angry. In just a month, Zhang Xiang had broken through from the peak of the 7th stage to the middle of the 8th stage. His aptitude was also rare. When a martial artist was young, the speed at which they broke through was the fastest. Because the meridians had yet to form, breaking through twice a month was still understandable. However, how could Zhang Xiang have known that Yixian was no longer in the same realm as before? Don't worry. I will defeat you and avenge my humiliation, Zhang Xiang said in his heart as he retreated to the back. However, his actions had already aroused the anger of the surrounding Shattering Cloud sect disciples. Senior brother Ding. Defeat him and avenge senior brother Hua. Win my ass. Cripple Zhang Xiang, that's the only way to vent our anger. Cripple him. Zhang Xiang glanced at his surroundings and revealed a look of disdain. The crowd was immersed in the cheers. Cripple him? How many of the disciples present could do that? The mountain guarding elder also heard the shouts, but he didn't care. He just said calmly, let's begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Xiang's figure quickly swept out again. Rip, rip, rip. In the next few seconds, a crisp sound was continuously heard. When everyone reacted, they saw that Zhang Xiang had already appeared in front of Ding Long. His long sword had already pierced through Ding Long's body. Ding Long's clothes were already stained with blood. Like Hu Yuan, he had been stabbed by Zhang Xiang. Gulp. Ding Long couldn't believe it, but the intense pain in his body made him believe that the gap between him and Zhang Xiang was so big. Instant kill. Hui Yuan was instantly killed because he had fought 3 rounds and was injured. His physical strength and spiritual power were also greatly depleted. However, Ding Long was in his peak state, but he was still instantly killed by Zhang Xiang, which was enough to prove that Zhang Xiang's strength was extraordinary. Zhang Xiang wins. The mountain guarding elder's voice sounded. The whole place was silent. Impossible, this is impossible. This ugly guy actually killed senior brother Ding in an instant. How is this possible? Everyone didn't quite believe it, but that was the truth. Ding Long was carried down by Su Shang, and then the former's master hurried over to treat him. However, his injuries were the same as Hui Yuan's. He would probably have to recuperate in bed for at least a month. Senior brother Su, I think you shouldn't fight in the next round. At this time Yi Xian suddenly said to Su Shang, No, I want to avenge senior brother Hua and junior brother Ding. Su Shang said firmly. But in my opinion Zhang Xiang used a 9th grade movement technique. His speed is definitely not something you can catch up with. Yi Xian frowned. In fact, Su Shang had already guessed that his opponent used a 9th grade movement technique. But how could he back down under the gaze of so many disciples? Junior brother Yi, even if I lose I can't back down. What's more, I can consume some of his spiritual power for you. Even if I have to pay a heavy price, I'm willing. Su Shang said solemnly. Yi Xian was very moved after hearing this. However, what Hui Yuan and Ding Long drank just now was the 100 flower dew that he had exchanged with devouring points. If Su Shang was stabbed 7 or 8 times, he would also need the 100 flower dew. That was 3 devouring points. Forget it, forget it. Now that I have so many points, I'll help you. Yi Xian didn't stop him. Anyway, the mountain guarding elder was watching, so Su Shang shouldn't have any accidents. Su Shang finally went up. Humph, another one who's not afraid of death is here. Zhang Xiang snorted. The battle began. As expected, Su Shang didn't last long and was also defeated. His injuries were exactly the same as Hui Yuan and Ding Long's, but his life wasn't in danger. Sigh, I spent another bottle of 100 flower dew. Yi Xian felt very helpless. Su Shang was carried off the stage again, and the atmosphere was a little tense. Just now, Hui Yuan won 3 in a row, and now Zhang Xiang also won 3 in a row. Moreover, it was effortless. However, the next battle was Guan Yulan. The disciples were very confident in Guan Yulan's strength, but against Zhang Xiang, her chances of winning were less than 10%. Zhang Xiang was as ugly as a pig, and most people wouldn't want to take a second look at him. However, if he fought against the goddess of the Shattering Cloud sect, Guan Yulan, what would happen? Most importantly, the disciples didn't want to see Guan Yulan being stabbed by Zhang Xiang. Senior sister Guan, let's surrender this battle. Immediately someone shouted, indicating that Guan Yulan should surrender. Guan Yulan, this Zhang Xiang isn't a good person. I'm afraid he won't show you any mercy. You better not go up. Let me take revenge for senior brother Hua and the others. Yi Xian said with some worry. Chapter 83. If you dare to ignore me, then come down. Yi Xian grabbed Guan Yulan and dragged her back with brute force. I'm also a disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect. Guan Yulan looked at Yi Xian and said slowly. This sentence was also the crux of the matter. This competition was related to the face of the Shattering Cloud sect. Over the years, there had never been a situation where the 2 sects had admitted defeat. Could it be that this time it was going to be broken? Yi Xian looked at Guan Yulan's face and hesitated. He wasn't related to Guan Yulan, so he couldn't stop her from making a decision. However, he was still a man. How could he let a girl get hurt? At this moment Zhang Xiang's face twisted and he scolded. Shattering Cloud sect, are you still going to fight? If you don't dare, then admit defeat. Why are you dragging this out? At this moment Zhang Xiang was in a very bad mood. This was because Yi Xian had previously stolen his fiancée, given him a green hat, and even ruined his father's plan. Therefore Zhang Xiang had wanted to kill Yi Xian for a long time. However, he didn't dare to do it because of Yi Xian's identity. Today, after seeing the relationship between Yi Xian and Guan Yulan, he was even more jealous. He had already made the decision to torture Guan Yulan in the arena. The word protective didn't suit him. He just wanted to wash away his shame. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Xiang through Guan Yulan's body and made the decision in his heart. Okay, be careful. Yixian reminded him. With the peak 10th stage martial path elder, Guan Yulan's life wouldn't be in danger. Moreover, the devouring system had better healing medicine than the 100-flower dew. So Guan Yulan was relatively safe. When Guan Yulan entered the arena, the crowd cheered again. Some of the surrounding disciples praised Guan Yulan's courage for not being afraid of danger, while some prayed for her. Only a small number of people believed that Guan Yulan could defeat Zhang Xiang. When Guan Yulan entered the arena, Zhang Xiang snorted coldly and said, "Miss, don't think that I'll show you mercy because you're a girl. However, I'll give you a chance. It's not too late for you to go down now." "Please." Guan Yulan didn't say anything. She swung her long sword and got into a battle stance. "Fine, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." A fierce look flashed across Zhang Xiang's eyes. After seeing Guan Yulan, he had an idea in his mind. The mountain guarding elder also took a deep look at Guan Yulan. The latter was the adopted daughter of the Shattering Cloud Sect's sect master. If she was injured, it would be difficult for him to explain it to the sect master. Therefore, he had to be more cautious in this battle to prevent any accidents from happening. "Begin." As soon as the elder's voice rang out, Zhang Xiang took a big stride forward. The deacons, mentors, and elders of the Shattering Cloud sect all held their breaths. Whether or not they could withstand Zhang Xiang's first round of attacks was the key. However, to their surprise, Zhang Xiang's approach this time was not the same as before. He wasn't going to defeat Guan Yulan in one go. Instead, he wanted to humiliate her. Zhang Xiang instantly rushed in front of Guan Yulan and casually thrust his sword. His attack was so fast that Guan Yulan couldn't react in time. Rip! A crisp sound was heard. Guan Yulan wasn't hurt. Only her white robe was pierced by the long sword. Guan Yulan's face was cold. She could feel Zhang Xiang's power. He wasn't someone she could fight against. However, when she thought about Hu Yuan and the other two's miserable state, a wave of anger surged in her heart. She raised her hand and attacked Zhang Xiang. "Humph, you overestimate yourself. How dare you counterattack?" Zhang Xiang snorted and dodged the attack. Rip! Another crisp sound was heard. Guan Yulan's robe was pierced, revealing her fair skin. Fortunately, it was only her arm. Yixian knew what Zhang Xiang was going to do. Guan Yulan was injured and defeated. That was a small matter. But if she was stripped naked in front of everyone, it would be a big deal. How could Guan Yulan not know Zhang Xiang's plan? However, with her strength, she did not have the strength to fight back at all. Rip! In the blink of an eye, Guan Yulan's arms were exposed. Her long sleeves turned into short sleeves. F***ck. How could Zhang Xiang be so dirty? Damn it, how dare he do that to Senior Sister Guan? What a beast. Senior Sister Guan, just admit defeat. The disciples in the stands couldn't stand it anymore. Although they were looking forward to it, they were still rational. Zhang Xiang knew that if he stripped Guan Yulan naked today, it would cause public outrage. But who was he? He was a disciple of the Sky-Cracking sect. Fan Yu had once broken the meridians of the Sky-Cracking sect's vice-sect leader Zhouzong's disciple. Wasn't he still alive? Little girl, how dare you stand so close to Yixian? I'll strip you naked and give you an appetizer. Zhang Xiang's eyes flashed. He pointed his long sword at Guan Yulan's chest. **T. Guan Yulan's face sank. She knew that she wouldn't be able to dodge this sword. If Zhang Xiang's evil plan succeeded, then she would lose all her face. The mountain guardian elder had already made his preparations. However, at this moment, he suddenly saw another figure charging at Guan Yulan. Swoosh! Zhang Xiang's long sword stabbed out, but it missed. Guan Yulan, who was standing in front of him, suddenly turned into a shadow and was stabbed by him. Then she disappeared. Guan Yulan's original body appeared on the other side. What? Impossible, how could she dodge my sword? Zhang Xiang was shocked. He was about to succeed, but why did something unexpected happen? He turned around in shock and found that Guan Yulan was in a man's arms. This man was Yixian. After realizing Zhang Xiang's intention, Yixian was ready to make a move. He couldn't stand it anymore and broke the rules to save Guan Yulan. Yixian, what are you doing? Zhang Xiang asked in shock. He was in the middle of a battle. Yixian suddenly went on stage, which obviously broke the rules. At the same time, Li Haodong's expression changed. He shouted, "Sect leader Zhou, what's going on?" "This kid still made a move," Zhou said in his heart. Then he said loudly, "The Shattering Cloud sect admits defeat." Zhou expression didn't look good. Guan Yulan was the adopted daughter of the Shattering Cloud sect's sect leader. Her identity was special. Even if Yixian didn't make a move, the guardian elder would have made a move. No matter who made a move, the result would be the same. Admit defeat. Chapter 84. The competition between the two sects had been held more than 10 times, but no one had ever admitted defeat. This time Zhou admission of defeat shocked many people. One had to know that Zhou did not admit defeat even when his disciples' meridians were broken by Fan Yu. "Humph, since you've admitted defeat, then let's forget about this matter." Li Haodong snorted and stopped pursuing the matter. He also knew of Guan Yulan's special identity. Just now, he was really afraid that the mountain guarding elder wouldn't be able to react in time and Zhangxiang would succeed. Then this matter would be blown up. After all, the Shattering Cloud sect still had a true spirit realm sect master. After Zhou voice fell, everyone in the audience heaved a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. However, their attention was instantly attracted by another matter. What a fast speed! This Yixian's speed is actually faster than Zhangxiang's? So he's that strong. We're saved. We're saved. Yixian can definitely defeat this ugly bastard. Didn't he take pills to advance? Why is he so strong? Someone asked. At this time, a nearby elder explained, taking pills to forcibly raise one's cultivation level is harmful to those with poor aptitude. However, true geniuses have extraordinary refining abilities, so the effects of pills on them are very small. This elder was Elder Bai Lai, the one who sent Hui Yuan away for treatment. After hearing his words, the disciples were enlightened. So Yixian, who they thought was trash, was actually a genius? However, they couldn't be blamed. After all, even the elder had misjudged him. A genius like him was 1 in a million. In the arena, due to Yixian's forceful intervention, Guan Yulan was saved. Zhangxiang's anger rose instantly. He was so close to succeeding and could have shredded all of Guan Yulan's clothes. Unfortunately, although he had accumulated a lot of resentment, Zhangxiang didn't say anything. After all, Li Haodong didn't pursue the matter. "Consider yourselves lucky," Zhangxiang said as he retreated back to his seat. After what happened just now, he didn't dare to underestimate Yixian. It turned out that Yixian's strength had improved a lot in the past month. Yixian's speed really scared him. However, he was here to take revenge. How could he back down? "You can go down first. I'll take care of him," Yixian said slowly as he let go of Guan Yulan's waist. "Okay, be careful." Guan Yulan's face turned red as she replied softly and ran down the arena. She was very confident in Yixian's strength. After the last mission at Blackwater Mountain, she had broken through a realm, but Yixian had broken through a total of 2 times. Furthermore, when she gave him the points, Yixian was already at the peak of the 8th level of the martial Dao. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the 9th level of the martial Dao. This kind of strength was enough to beat up Zhangxiang, who was in the 8th realm. It's finally your turn. Today I will take revenge for what happened that day. I will cripple your meridians and then take care of the Shui family and your Yi family. Don't worry, I will take care of your women one by one. Zhangxiang looked at Yixian with a ferocious expression. Don't worry. I will beat you until you can't even shout out your defeat. Yixian replied coldly. Previously, in the City of Gold, he had only taught Zhangxiang a lesson. However, this time he had the intention to kill. Zhangxiang was too arrogant and his methods were ruthless. Yixian had to let him know that there were some people he couldn't touch. What arrogance! Today, I will experience the strength of the disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect's vice-sect master. After saying that, Zhangxiang rushed towards Yixian with his sword. Before the mountain guarding elder shouted, he had already made his move. However, the mountain guarding elder didn't stop him and just silently retreated. He saw that Yixian was ready. He could feel the murderous aura. Xiu! Xiu! The moment Zhangxiang moved, Yixian also moved. The two figures faced each other at an extremely fast speed. Not many people could see their movements clearly. They could only see a series of afterimages. Go kill Zhangxiang. Senior brother Yi. Kill him and let him know whose territory this is. Cripple his meridians. The entire martial arts training field suddenly burst into an uproar. Everyone was supporting Yi Xian. Zhangxiang's previous methods were too crude, which caused the crowd to be angry. Although Zhangxiang had broken through twice in a month, Yi Xian wasn't the same as he was a month ago. Currently, he was at the peak of the 8th stage of the martial path, which was one stage higher than Zhangxiang. Moreover, with the addition of the 100 Beast bloodline and the wind-chasing leopard bloodline, he could catch up to Zhangxiang, who was using a 9th stage martial art if he used the 7th stage martial art, Netherworld Steps. If he used the 9th stage martial art, Heavenly Illusion martial art, he could instantly kill Zhangxiang. However, Zhangxiang was so arrogant. He injured Hui Yuan and the other two and almost tore Guan Yulan's clothes. How could Yi Xian let Zhangxiang lose so easily? Boom! The two figures came into contact and in an instant, a violent muffled sound rang out. The two figures on the stage suddenly stopped. Yi Xian's fist had already landed on Zhangxiang's abdomen. The entire crowd went silent. Instant kill? No, not yet. Zhangxiang could still move. Die. Zhangxiang was hit by the fist and felt his stomach churn. However, he still stabbed with his sword. At such a close distance, it was impossible for him to hurt Yi Xian. I told you, I will beat you until you can't even shout out your surrender. Yi Xian's cold voice suddenly rang in Zhangxiang's ears. Following that, the latter felt a sharp pain in his throat. It was as if his head was hit by a rock. Gotcha! With a crisp sound, Zhangxiang's body flew out horizontally. A pool of blood floated in the air. His throat was hit by Yi Xian's fist. It was so painful that he couldn't speak. This was after Yi Xian showed mercy. Otherwise, this punch would have been enough to break his throat. Xiao! Without waiting for Zhangxiang to react, Yi Xian rushed out again. This time he didn't use his fist, but his finger technique. 8th stage martial art, Heavenly Crippling Finger. In an instant, Yi Xian's hands were like a machine gun. They flashed rapidly. Every time they landed on Zhangxiang's body, Zhangxiang would let out a painful whimper. The Heavenly Crippling Finger was a martial art from the Shattering Cloud sect. Although it wasn't very powerful, this martial art was very special. It recorded some other things. Chapter 85. 6. 18. 36. 54. 72. The Heavenly Crippling Finger had a total of 72 fingers, which corresponded to 72 parts of the human body. These 72 parts were not fatal, but they could bring intense pain. Under normal circumstances, a martial artist could withstand up to 36 fingers, but there were not many who could withstand up to 54 fingers. It was extremely rare to be able to withstand all 72 fingers, and Zhangxiang was one of them. I didn't expect your willpower to be so strong. Let me do it again. Seeing that Zhangxiang was still standing unsteadily, Yi Xian's eyes narrowed. His body flashed as he performed the Heavenly Crippling Finger on Zhangxiang's body again. Zhangxiang was in so much pain that he wanted to scream. However, his throat was injured, so he could only whimper. Boo-oo. If Zhangxiang's gaze could kill, Yi Xian would have died 100 times. However, a gaze could not kill. Still not unconscious? Get lost. Zhangxiang's willpower shocked Yi Xian. However, the latter also understood that Zhangxiang was able to hold on until now because of his deep resentment. Yi Xian was still angry, so he performed the Heavenly Crippling Finger on the same spot again. This time it was the third time. Zhangxiang endured the pain and crazily stabbed at Yi Xian's afterimage. However, not a single one of his swords hit him. All of them missed. He was furious. After the third time, he was still standing on the stage and did not fall down. His entire body had been shot into a sieve by the finger force. His clothes had been dyed red, and a thick smell of blood spread out. It was very wretched. I'm too lazy to beat you up. Get lost. Yi Xian suddenly remembered that Zhangxiang was only the fourth person in the sky-splitting sect. There was a stronger opponent waiting for him. Hence, he had to conserve his spiritual energy to avoid any accidents. Pung! He kicked Zhangxiang in the stomach. There were several wounds on the latter's abdomen. After being kicked, blood immediately gushed out like a fountain. Plop! Zhangxiang drew a parabola in the air and landed on the ground. His long sword fell beside him. Although he had cultivated a 9th-grade movement technique, he could only use it to suppress Hui Yuan and the others. Against Yi Xian he was completely powerless. If we weren't in the arena, you would already be a dead man. Yi Xian coldly snorted in his heart and slowly walked towards Zhangxiang. He didn't want to beat him up again, he just wanted to go down. Although the heavenly crippling finger was not fatal, there were still a few spots that were very important to a warrior. Zhangxiang had been rotated by the heavenly crippling finger 3 times, and several of his meridians had been severed. His future training would be very troublesome. Yi Xian wins. The mountain guardian elder looked at Zhangxiang, who was groaning and bleeding on the ground, and immediately announced. Yi Xian's footsteps were neither fast nor slow. When he passed by Zhangxiang, he also quietly said a few words. Although Zhangxiang couldn't speak, he could still hear it. When he heard this, his expression immediately changed and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Yi Xian gradually walked away. At this moment, Zhangxiang mustered all his strength to get up. He picked up the long sword that had fallen on the ground and rushed towards Yi Xian. The long sword was filled with a large amount of spiritual energy. This sword was aimed at Yi Xian's heart. If it hit, even Yi Xian would die on the spot. Be careful. Guan Yulan hurriedly shouted when she saw Zhangxiang suddenly get up from behind Yi Xian. Not only that, but all the disciples in the arena also stood up and shouted. These 2 words echoed throughout the entire training grounds. Be careful. However, before these 2 words could be heard, a figure flew out and landed at the edge of the arena. To be precise, it landed in front of the sky-cracking sect's ace, Fan Yu. This figure was Zhangxiang. However, at that moment, his eyes were wide open and his expression was stiff. A large hole had been blasted into his left chest. Zhangxiang was dead. The entire arena fell silent. It was dead silent. Injuries were inevitable in the competition between the 2 sections. However, this was the first time someone had died. Fan Yu from the sky-cracking sect touched the blood on his cheek and took a few steps forward to check his injuries. He then shook his head. How foolish. I fell into his trap. After saying this, Fan Yu smiled at Yi Xian. Yi Xian was strong enough to be his opponent, since he could smash a person's heart with 1 punch. He wasn't very interested in this match, so he had been resting with his eyes closed under the stage. But now his interest was piqued. Senior brother Zhang. Zhangxiang's body lay quietly at the edge of the arena. The other 3 people from the sky-cracking sect immediately rushed over. Li Haodong and the elders of the sky-cracking sect also stood up from the eastern stands. Even Zhoutsong and the others did the same. This scene happened so quickly that even they didn't expect it. Who would have thought that Zhangxiang would suddenly attack Yi Xian with a sword after announcing his victory? Stinking brat, I want you to pay with your life. Suddenly, a figure flashed out from behind Li Haodong. He directly jumped down from the 10-meter-tall viewing platform and quickly charged towards Yi Xian. He was Zhangxiang's master, Hu Sun. The moment Zhangxiang died, Zhoutsong knew that he was in trouble. However, there was still an expert from the sky-cracking cloud sect in the arena. He immediately shouted, Guardian Elder, stop him! Hu Sun saw that his disciple was dead and wanted Yi Xian to pay with his life. However, at this moment, the Guardian Elder suddenly rushed forward and stretched out his withered right hand. Bang! Although Hu Sun was also in the 10th realm of the martial path, he was still weaker than the Guardian Elder, who was at the peak of the 10th realm. Therefore, he was forced to take a few steps back. Get out of my way! Looking at the withered elder, Hu Sun's face darkened. He knew that this elder was an expert from the sky-cracking cloud sect, second only to the sect leader and the vice-sect leader. Your Excellency, what do you want to do? The Guardian Elder looked at Hu Sun and asked slowly. Of course I want to kill that stinking brat and avenge my disciple. Hu Sun gritted his teeth and answered. That won't do. The Guardian Elder didn't waste any time and rejected him directly. Then you can try. Without saying anything, they immediately started fighting. In an instant, Hu Sun started attacking the Guardian Elder crazily. At this moment, some of the elders from the sky-cracking sect on the eastern platform were waiting for Li Haodong's instructions. This was the first time that a death had occurred in the competition between the 2 sections. It was up to the vice sect leader, Li Haodong, to decide what to do. Sect leader Zhou, you have guts. How dare you kill a disciple of the sky-cracking sect? Li Haodong was the vice sect leader and had an extraordinary status. He still maintained his rationality. Chapter 86. When Yixian was ambushed, it was out of Zhou expectations. His heart almost stopped beating. Fortunately, Yixian was fine. Otherwise, he would have immediately ordered Li Haodong and the others to be killed. Careless? Sect leader Zhou, do you think I didn't see it? When that kid passed by Zhangxiang, he said something to provoke Zhangxiang to ambush him. Li Haodong said. When the surrounding people heard this, they were stunned, as expected of a martial artist who was half a step into the true spirit realm. He actually noticed this. One had to know that not many people present saw it. Hehe, this is indeed true. But sect leader Li, how do you know what Yixian said? Zhou revealed a smile. Although this incident was caused by the Shattering Cloud sect, the Shattering Cloud sect was in the wrong. Humph. Then I'll listen to what he said. Li Haodong was actually not very sure. When Yixian spoke, his expression was as calm as water. Perhaps it was because Zhangxiang couldn't bear the humiliation and Yixian exposed his back. That was why he wanted to ambush him. Elder Hu, stop first. Li Haodong shouted and jumped down with the others. Hu Sun was exchanging blows with the mountain guardian elder. He was shocked to find that even if he split into 3 bodies, he probably wouldn't be able to do anything to the mountain guardian elder. Sect leader, you have to avenge my disciple. Hu Sun saw that there was no hope for him to break through. He immediately rushed to Li Haodong's side with snot and tears. Let's not talk about this for now. Li Haodong snorted. Under the vigilance of Zhou and the others, they first went to check Zhangxiang's body and found that he was already dead. Then Zhou called Yixian over. Why did you kill him? Li Haodong asked directly. However, he also used some tricks to ask this question. Senior, you must have seen what happened just now. Zhangxiang launched a sneak attack on me first. I panicked and threw out a punch, accidentally killing him. Yixian wouldn't foolishly say that he intended to kill Zhangxiang. He immediately explained what happened. Yes, this was all part of his plan. He deliberately lured Zhangxiang into ambushing him. However, as long as he didn't admit it, what could Li Haodong do to him? Then what did you say to him just now? Li Haodong continued to ask. Yixian lightly smiled and said, this brat only said one sentence. If you do too much injustice, you will die. Are you sure? Li didn't believe him. Yixian must have said something to provoke Zhangxiang to ambush him. For example, of this word stand up and kill me if used, of course. Of the words is of his words. Of heavens was but. And of the of Li, sss of but, s. Li xessa of s. And Li's ye. Tssss, s. Of sss. Was. S. Zhangxiang's death was in vain. Brat, I'm going to kill you. At that moment, Elder Hu of the sky-cracking sect suddenly charged at Yixian with a claw. How dare you? A cold voice rang out as Elder Hu was sent flying. However, the person who sent him flying was none other than the vice sect leader of the sky-cracking sect, Li Haodong. This time the sky-cracking sect was in the wrong. It wasn't worth it to start a war between the sky-cracking sect and the Shattering Cloud sect just to avenge Zhangxiang. If a fight really broke out, none of them would be able to leave the Shattering Cloud sect. After all, there were thousands of disciples here. Apart from that, there were also deacons at least in the 8th realm of the martial path, instructors at the 9th realm, and elders at the 10th realm. Just Zhou and the mountain guarding elder were enough to make them suffer, let alone the others. Sect leader. Hu Sun was surprised. The sky-cracking sect was much stronger than the Shattering Cloud sect. They didn't need to be afraid of the Shattering Cloud sect. Elder Hu, it was Zhangxiang who launched a sneak attack. He deserved to die, Li Haodong said as he gave Hu Sun a look. Although Zhangxiang was dead, there was still Fan Yu. With his strength in the 9th realm of the martial path, he could definitely avenge Zhangxiang. Wasn't this a good thing? When Hu Sun saw Li Haodong's look, he suddenly understood. If Fan Yu dealt with Yixian, they could avenge Zhangxiang and avoid a war between the two sections. What was the difference between turning a martial artist into a cripple and killing him? As long as Yi Xian was crippled, the Shattering Cloud sect would definitely abandon him. When that time came, wouldn't he be at the mercy of others? However, they still had to face another problem. Would the Shattering Cloud sect accept the challenge? Sect leader Zhou, are you still going to fight the 5th round? If not, our Sky-Cracking sect will have 6 consecutive victories. Li Haodong suddenly turned around and asked. Zhou Tsong was now hesitating. The 5th round was definitely very dangerous. Moreover, Fan Yu might very well torture Yi Xian at all costs. Yi Xian was a very important part of his plan. If Yi Xian died or was crippled, his plan would have to start all over again. Fight, of course we'll fight. Before Zhou Tsong could start, Yi Xian suddenly took a step forward and said, "What a joke. As long as he defeated Fan Yu, he would be able to obtain 300 million taels of silver. With these 300 million taels of silver, he would definitely be able to break through to the mid-stage of the 9th realm of the martial path." Yi Xian Yu. Zhou Tsong was shocked. He believed in Yi Xian's talent, but this Fan Yu in front of him wasn't someone to be trifled with. If Fan Yu hadn't been in the Sky-Cracking sect all year round, he would definitely have secretly captured him. "Master, I will be careful," Yi Xian said solemnly. Zhou Tsong furrowed his brows. He really didn't want to let Yi Xian fight. Even though he would be able to obtain 1 billion taels of silver, if anything happened to Yi Xian, his losses would be even greater. All right. Zhou Tsong nodded in the end because he had decided to personally guard the stage with the Mountain Guardian Elder. He definitely couldn't let anything happen to Yi Xian. Haha, sect leader Zhou is really courageous. Let's go. Li Haodong laughed loudly as he led the group to the bottom of the stage. Then he said a few words to Fan Yu. Zhou Tsong also gave the Mountain Guardian Elder a look. Yi Xian was the Shattering Cloud sect's hope. And even more so, his hope. Nothing must happen to him. The others also slowly walked down the stage. Be careful. Guan Yulan reminded him and left as well. As a result, there were only 3 people left on the stage. Yi Xian, Fan Yu, and the Mountain Guardian Elder who was acting as the referee. I didn't expect you to have already reached the peak of the 8th realm of the martial path. No wonder you were able to kill junior brother Zhang. However, if that's all you have, you should get off the stage. If I were to attack, you would definitely be crippled. Chapter 87. Yi Xian looked at Fan Yu and said slowly, "We'll know who's going to be crippled after we fight. Also, your smile is very fake. Can you stop smiling? I'm getting goosebumps." Hearing this, the smile on Fan Yu's face froze and was replaced by a ferocious expression. "Since you want to follow in your senior brother's footsteps, I'll fulfill your wish." Fan Yu did not want to waste time with Yi Xian. He glanced at the Guardian Elder. "Let's begin," the Guardian Elder announced. Whoosh! As soon as he said that, Fan Yu's hands turned into claws and instantly turned into a cheetah. He pounced on Yi Xian. His weapons were his hands. He wanted to use these hands to break all of Yi Xian's meridians. So fast. Fan Yu's speed shocked Yi Xian. He was at least twice as fast as Zhang Xiang. This Fan Yu is really something. His speed is so fast. Yi Xian's heart sank. Fan Yu's speed was comparable to his explosive thunderstep speed. However, the current him possessed a 9th grade movement technique martial art. In an instant, Yi Xian also exploded with speed and came into contact with Fan Yu. Boom! In the arena, the air billowed and dust filled the air. Even the Guardian Elder could not see clearly. However, the surrounding disciples suddenly cried out in alarm. "Senior brother Yi, kill him. Yes, kill him and let our Shattering Cloud sect win this time. Beat him until he's crippled." The disciples had already acknowledged Yi Xian's position. They waved their fists and shouted, as if they wanted to see the world burn. However, Zhou Tsong's expression was not so good. He did not expect such a thing to happen at the beginning. What if Yi Xian was crippled by Fan Yu during this period of time? However, the competition had just begun. Was he going to admit defeat? At this moment, the sound of spiritual energy colliding came from the center of the dust-filled arena. Boom! 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 The muffled sound was like thunder. The people below the arena held their breaths. They could no longer see with their eyes. They could only listen with their ears. Zhou Tsong hurriedly gave the Guardian Elder a look. After the latter understood, he slapped the arena. Suddenly, a gust of wind whistled in the arena and swept the dust away. The dust was blown away by the wind. Two figures came into everyone's sight. But when they saw the situation in the arena clearly, they were so shocked that they couldn't speak. To hell, one figure was retreating back while the other was attacking. Who was being beaten? Of course, Fan Yu. Good, beat him. Beat him to death. Good job, Senior Martial Brother Yi. Kill this smiling brat. Revenge for Senior Brother Yang's name Yang's assess. The atmosphere of the audience instantly rose to a whole new level. All the disciples were screaming at the top of their lungs because this time, the Shattering Cloud sect was going to make a comeback. Impossible, Fan Yu is in the 9th level of the martial path. That kid is only at the peak of the 8th level of the martial path. How could Fan Yu be beaten back? Below the arena, the experts from the Heaven-Splitting sect were completely shocked. Although some of the people they brought to the Heaven-Splitting sect were not ranked, Fan Yu was different. He was the first disciple of the Heaven-Splitting sect. However, this first disciple was being attacked crazily. He looked like he was going to die. This kid's physique is extraordinary. He must have tempered his body. It must be. Li Haodong exclaimed. Martial artists who tempered their bodies had stronger physiques than ordinary people. However, those who tempered their bodies had extremely strong willpower. Such people were also 1 in a million. Boom! In the arena, Fan Yu was suddenly punched by Yi Xian and flew 10 meters away. Fan Yu, is this all you've got? You're 1 level higher than me. It turns out that you're just a paper tiger. Yi Xian did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked very disdainful. This was not the first time he had challenged someone of a higher level. He had originally thought that Fan Yu had some strength. However, he had never expected that Fan Yu would be as shy as a kitten in front of him. Fan Yu also did not expect that Yi Xian's strength would exceed his expectations. He did not have the slightest advantage at the beginning of the 9th realm of the martial path. Yi Xian, I want you dead. At this time, Fan Yu suddenly shouted and rushed up again. His right hand had already turned into a claw. However, the spiritual power condensed on it made Yi Xian's expression freeze. A grade 10 martial technique? Yi Xian was shocked. Fan Yu's aptitude was not bad. He had actually managed to learn a grade 10 martial technique at the beginning of the 9th realm of the martial path. Oh no, Yi Xian dodged quickly. Zhou, who was below the arena, shouted involuntarily. Fan Yu's cultivation level was already 1 level higher than Yi Xian's. Now that he had the boost of a grade 10 martial technique, Yi Xian would not be able to withstand it no matter what. The mountain guarding elder was already prepared to make a move. However, at that moment he saw Yi Xian suddenly smile. Hence, he paused for a moment and decided not to make a move. A grade 10 martial technique? You have to hit me first. Yi Xian's lips curled up slightly. In an instant, the strength of his spiritual power increased by 1 level. That's right. At this critical moment, he had devoured the treasures of heaven and earth hidden in the devouring space. These treasures had allowed him to break through 9th realm of the martial path. Now he was at the same level as Fan Yu. They were both at the 9th realm of the martial path. Most importantly, after a martial artist broke through, their physique and spiritual power would increase exponentially. However, Yi Xian had broken through a major bottleneck. He had broken through from the peak of the 8th realm of the martial path to the 9th realm of the martial path. Hence, the increase was even greater. His current speed had far surpassed Fan Yu's. Yi Xian die. At some point, Fan Yu had leaped into the air. Suddenly, he made a grabbing motion with his right hand. 5 streaks of cold light flashed and instantly pierced through the arena. However, the scene of Yi Xian's body being torn apart did not occur. Yi Xian had already left before his attack arrived. What? Fan Yu's face was filled with shock. What his claw attack had swept past was actually Yi Xian's afterimage. Most importantly, Yi Xian's original body was already waiting for him below. Paw crawl. Fan Yu finally landed on the ground. At this moment, Yi Xian took a big stride forward and circled behind him. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Yi Xian's cold voice rang out. In the next instant, Fan Yu felt a sharp pain in his arm. He instinctively looked over and saw a shocking scene. His left hand had been twisted into a fried dough twist. Crack! Before he could react, another pair of hands had already locked onto his right hand. He watched helplessly as his right hand turned 180 degrees, followed by 360 degrees. That was not all. 360 degrees was only half of it. 720 degrees. Crack. 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 Chapter 88. Two different voices rang out, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. It all happened so quickly that no one could react in time. The only ones who could see Yi Xian's speed clearly were the elders in the 10th realm of the martial path. Even the instructors in the 9th realm could not see it clearly. What kind of speed was that? Fan Yu's scream suddenly became louder. Everyone looked over and realized that Fan Yu had collapsed on the ground. The soles of his feet had been trampled by Yi Xian. However, this was not the end. Yi Xian wanted to completely cripple Fan Yu. Now that he had already crippled both of Fan Yu's arms and one of his legs, there was only one last step left. Stop! At this moment, the experts of the Skycracking sect reacted. They immediately jumped into the arena and ran toward Yi Xian. At the same time, Zhouzong and a few other elders also jumped into the arena. A great battle was about to begin. Brat, I'm going to kill you! Li Haodong roared. He abandoned his position as the vice-sect leader of the Skycracking sect and pounced toward Yi Xian. Sect leader Li, you have to get past me first. A figure appeared in front of him. It was Zhouzong. Soon after, another figure flew over. It was the mountain guarding elder. Li Haodong stopped in his tracks as he faced two peak martial artists. He was at the same level as the two of them. His chances of winning were less than 30%. On the other side, the 5 elders of the Skycracking sect had been intercepted by the elders of the Skycracking sect. At the same time, the instructors, deacons, and even the disciples on the spectator stand all rushed down. Zhouzong, are you trying to start a war between our sects? Li Haodong gritted his teeth and roared. This was because Fan Yu, who was being trampled by Yi Xian, was his disciple. If we wanted to start a war, we would have done so 2 years ago. Do you remember what Fan Yu did 2 years ago? Zhouzong glared at him and asked. Li Haodong was stunned. 2 years ago, he had also brought a group of people to the Shattering Cloud sect to participate in the competition. At that time, Fan Yu had even beaten up Zhouzong's disciple until his meridians were broken. This time, the one who was crippled was Fan Yu. It was truly the cycle of karma. For a moment, Li Haodong did not know what to say. At this time, Hu Sun suddenly said, "Bullshit, that kid even killed my disciple. He only has himself to blame." A voice drifted over. Everyone turned to look and saw Yi Xian dragging Fan Yu's body as he slowly walked over. Then Yi Xian swung his right hand and threw Fan Yu in front of Li Haodong. Fan Yu. When Li Haodong saw Fan Yu's twisted arms and crushed legs, he immediately burst into tears. Sure enough, those who are unjust are doomed to destruction. That was what Zhouzong and the others were thinking. They all understood that Yi Xian was avenging Hui Yuan and the others, as well as his senior brother. Sect leader Li, Yi Xian killed one and crippled the other, but it's still acceptable. If you want to fight today, I Bai Lai will gladly oblige. Bai Lai also took a step forward and said. His first disciple, Hui Yuan, had also been severely injured by Zhang Xiang. He would probably be bedridden for a month. That's right. Zhang Xiang launched a sneak attack first, so Yi Xian acted. Moreover, Yi Xian and Fan Yu were in the middle of a competition when you suddenly interfered. Therefore, it's your loss. As the judge of this competition, the elder who guarded the mountain finally spoke. The people from the Skycracking sect looked at each other. They were clearly the ones who had suffered a loss, but the Shattering Cloud sect was the one in the right. Good, very good. We won't let this matter rest. Let's go. Li Haodong still had some sense. He knew that they would not be able to achieve anything if they fought head-on, so he could only temporarily retreat. The people from the Skycracking sect left with Zhang Xiang's corpse and the crippled Fan Yu. As they left, Fan Yu was still screaming in pain. 2 of his arms and 1 of his legs had been crippled by Yi Xian. Unless he had some divine medicine, he could only lie on a bed for the rest of his life. Looking at the backs of the people from the Skycracking sect, the crowd was silent for a few seconds. Then it suddenly exploded. The Shattering Cloud sect won? After 5 consecutive losses, they finally won? Haha, senior brother Yi is too strong. He actually beat up the chief disciple of the sky-cracking sect. But why did I hear that Fan Yu is a martial path 9th realm martial artist? Martial path 9th realm? Then senior brother Yi can defeat him. Could it be that? Heavens, a martial path 9th realm martial artist can already be a mentor in the Shattering Cloud sect. Mentor this talent? The disciples were all dumbfounded. Yixian's talent had already exceeded their expectations. As for Zhouzong and the others, they also could not imagine that Yixian could actually defeat a martial path 9th realm martial artist with a rank 10 martial art. How was this possible? Zhouzong frowned and looked at Yixian. The latter had just fought a battle and had not yet retracted his aura. Therefore, Zhouzong found a clue. What? Yixian, you have already broken through to the martial path 9th realm? Zhouzong said in shock. Yixian was also slightly helpless. Since he had already been exposed, he could only nod and admit. I just broke through during the battle. What? As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding people all cried out in surprise. Broke through during the battle? How was this possible? The elders could not believe it and gathered around Yixian. Even though Yixian had retracted his aura, they still felt it. He is indeed a martial path 9th realm martial artist. Oh my god, have I been living like a dog for the past few decades? A 15-year-old martial path 9th realm martial artist. This is much stronger than Fan Yu. The person who said this was a middle-aged mentor. He was more than twice as old as Yixian. Generally, martial artists started learning from a young age. However, they had to wait until they were 7 years old. Even if Yixian started cultivating at the age of 7, it would only be 8 years. Which of the mentors present had not cultivated for more than 30 years? A true genius. Good, this is really good. At this time, Zhouzong could not hide his joy and immediately laughed. The better Yixian's talent was, the happier he was. He was really happy. Today, the Shattering Cloud sect had escaped the fate of 5 consecutive losses and won 1 battle. Therefore, Zhouzong immediately ordered a banquet to celebrate. The entire Shattering Cloud sect was filled with laughter. At the same time, the news that Yixian had become a mentor of the Shattering Cloud sect spread instantly. The mentors of the Shattering Cloud sect were given a fixed amount of points every month. Although it was only 300 points a month, it was still very good. However, Yixian compared this to the Shui family's consecrator, and found that 3 million taels a month was not a lot. This was because Lien Yuan was given 10 million taels a month in the Shui family. However, the most important thing was yet to come. Previously, Zhouzong had promised that as long as the Shattering Cloud sect won this time, he would privately give 30,000 points to Yixian. End of chapter.